Welcome, welcome, welcome. Working as fast as I can if you don't have a speaker and you want one. My co-hosts aren't in yet, so.
Who are your co-hosts tonight, Jason?
What was that? Our special guest host is the judge. Yeah, he's our special guest tonight. And then, welcome, Judge.
Hello, it's good to be here. How are you, Jason?
I am good. I'm ready for tonight. Did you get my message about at 8:15 to 8:25 we're going to let our friend speak tonight about uniting instead of dividing.
Yes, I did.
Yes, so that'll be good.
I think that's yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. How is everybody else doing tonight? There's Cats. Cats is in. How you doing, Cats?
I'm doing marvelous. I hope everyone else is. Hello, everybody. Hi, gang.
Jeannie, how you doing?
You caught me with a mouthful. I'm sorry. I'm doing well.
Oh, go ahead and eat your dinner. Don't worry. There's no rush. You know, it's okay. You can eat and then talk when you're ready. Neo, how you doing, Neo?
Hey, bro, what's up? Hope all is well.
Yeah, are you hanging in there?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. I mean, hey, Judge, I was trying to be on your forum last night, and I got in the middle of a phone call and just got crazy. But I was on there for a solid 45 minutes, I think, with Jason. Jason was there too, so it was interesting topics. It was really good stuff.
Yep, it was. Hey, Neo, it's good to see you.
There's Herk down there. Hi, Herk.
I sent him a mic, but I don't know if he's got it. I'll try to send him it again if unless he doesn't want one. Herc, if you don't want a mic, bro, and you just want to listen, that is no problem, my friend. Totally understand, but we love having Herc. Herc is our special guest co-host next week. He'll be here. We just keep rolling this train. I'm a scheduler, so if for all you co-hosts that notice, I plan way ahead because I don't know, I have a little bit of that side in me. So I'll keep scheduling the co-hosts. The co-host usually I just want to bring up before I want the judge to. First of all, Judge, why don't you introduce yourself? We are glad you are here as a co-host. I would like you to be one of our regulars every 6 weeks or so when you can. I know you're busy, but explain to us how things are going with your campaign real quick and give us a little bit about yourself.
Well, the campaign seems to be off to a good start. I spoke with some of our state victory campaign folks. But let me back up first. I go by Judge Jay here on Spaces. For those who don't know me personally, my first name is Jesse, and I am a real judge. I practiced law in the state of South Carolina for 12 years before becoming a judge in this state. I was a trial lawyer practicing in what we call the circuit courts, family courts, and probate courts of South Carolina, as well as the federal district courts. And then I ran for probate court judge and was elected 4 years ago. And I'm on my reelection bid this year, and it seems to be off to a pretty good start.
Awesome. So I want to give you guys I want you guys to know that I network with the judge, with Garison and the Best a lot, and go to their spaces because I like to support them as well. We kind of have our own network where a lot of us are conservative, and so it's my desire to continue to support the Judges Night Court and to be a part of that. And just I love it. I want to make sure that I'm, it isn't just me hosting a space, but I'm with people that like-minded people. I've been to spaces where I won't stick around because I don't like the way that the leadership runs their spaces. I'm real picky. So the Judge is definitely one of the spaces I love going to. The Best, when he hosts spaces, I love going to them. Garison, when he hosts spaces, I love going to them. So I love it, you know. And so we have kind of a network of you know, between our spaces. So it's a lot of fun. And so if you've never been to a night court, come on by and join. The Judge is like me. He won't allow attacks on people. He does not allow those either. And that, I think that's important. So, anyways, how is everybody else doing? Let's, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good this evening. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just prepared for tonight and, you know, ready for everything we got going on. Jeannie?
That's good. I've been waiting for this for a little bit, so it's exciting.
All right, I'm glad you're here. This is different than our late night garages usually, Let's. It's a little bit different. We have a format, so I think you'll like it. Go ahead, Jeannie.
I'm doing well. I appreciate this forum, and I always look forward to it coming up. I thank you, Jason. Thank you, Judge and Katz, for co-hosting.
So, thanks, Jeannie. Neo, go ahead and say something. Then I'm gonna do a little introduction here. Go ahead, Neo.
Absolutely, it won't take much time. I just want to let you know that the reason I changed my avatar is I got called out by some people saying I didn't have the balls to show my face on Twitter. So, I mean, there it is for everybody to see. I'm not trying to break any mirrors here, but I found a good picture. It's me floating in a lazy river with a Trump hat on, so you know where I stand on it. So that's what explains why the picture's changed, okay?
You don't have to worry about what people think of you, dude. It doesn't matter.
Well, I don't. So that's why I have zero bleeps given, fill in the
Yeah,
blanks. So that's like,
I gotcha.
You know what? So if you're going to call me out that I have if I had the fear to show my face, I'm like, I changed it. I said, I don't give a heck.
I totally understand that, though. Hey, Bess, go ahead.
Yeah, I just hope everyone forgives me for my name tonight. It won't be that for much longer, but I want to keep it for at least a day.
What are you changing it to? Do you know yet?
No, my Twitter name that I already changed, the best unreliable internet stranger, which I was given the designation of today.
Oh, okay. I'll still call you the Best then.
Yeah.
That works for me.
Okay, Bess, we're going to need you to unpack that and tell us a little bit about that story.
Oh, very simply, one of my people who I like and support and follow had a post. I kind of called her out on it, and then she responded to me saying, I basically, I know better than you. I have more experience, and I don't take advice from unreliable internet strangers. So I'll post it. It was funny, but that happened.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I love how you change it up and stuff. It's really awesome. So I want to bring this up real quick because, we're really excited to keep this forum going, and it's growing. But I wanted to, bring a little bit about Katz and myself and our co-hosts. So, I'm always learning politics as I go. I wasn't always in it, but I've always been into performance stuff, and I've always been able to host things. And so that's what drew me to this. And I love hosting, and I'm good with people. Katz told me I could say this today because she says it all the time, was a Democrat who was not really into politics until about 3 years ago. So she's still learning as she goes, but she's learning how to do things too. And so, we're just learning as we go. And then of course, as we go, we also get to learn from amazing people like the Judge and Garison, who's went through law school. And so we just keep growing. We keep growing. We don't think we know it all. But I'll fake it till I make it if I think I'm right about something. Just saying. So I sent him a invite, Best, and I have not seen him show up yet. So I don't know if I sent him the link. So once he gets here, but we are on schedule. So if it gets past the time frame, we won't be able to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no problem. And I'm also monitoring it.
Sweet.
I
Go ahead,
sent
Judge.
an awful lot of people. Hopefully they'll jump in here and join us. Of course, I always like to grow the space as much as we can and get as many folks participating as we can. Makes for a livelier discussion.
I totally agree with you. I agree. So let me do some a little bit of communication with you guys. We have a forum, a conservative political forum email account. If you ever have any questions or ideas that maybe we can look over and think about, me and my team will look at that. It is called the Conservative Political Forum at gmail.com. So you can always email us. If you are not able to make it to one of these spaces ever, but you want to hear the show or hear the forum, I should say. It is a show too, but it's the forum. You can find us on Rumble and on YouTube. You can go to Cat or my profile, click on the Conservative Political Forum Twitter account, because we have my alter ego runs the Twitter account, not me, but my alter ego. And my alter ego has a link to Rumble and YouTube in the Conservative Political Forum Twitter account, and you can find us on Rumble and YouTube. So if you ever miss the show, that's how you can find us. Another way you can find us, it's usually a day later or what?
It's approximately a day, and the last 3 shows are already on there.
Nice. Vibe, I will give you a mic, buddy, but I got to save the spot for somebody we're expecting to come in here any minute, and then he's already got it.
I can also move down if necessary.
But I need you to introduce, talk, do the introduction for him. Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Okay. We'll work it out. I don't see him yet, so it's not going to matter if we get to that point. You know what I mean? So we got ways for you guys to find us. Does anybody have any questions about that? I mean, anybody curious about anything while we're talking about that? The email and the Rumble and YouTube, or are we good there? Okay. Go ahead, Herk.
I actually got
all good.
I actually got a question too when Herk's done, but go ahead.
Yesterday, I heard a little bit of what happened to Arizona Politico, but that guy Magdalorian was kept interrupting, and it was difficult to follow. I heard something like he got into it with a candidate, and then he deleted his account. Could you go back and explain that story, please?
Yes, and Arizona was supposed to come here so we could talk about it, but I'll just let Best, if Neo's got his hand raised, I'll let him say something, and then Best, can you give the story a little, because you're you and the judge?
I'll just can I be real quick, Best? Thank you so much. And I private messaged Jason on that, and hey, and I'm not saying he didn't say some things that I agree with. I mean, there are some things that I totally agreed with, but I mean, I just don't think you would have ran it like that, Jason. I mean, the guy kind of went off a little bit off what I would consider the deep end as a conservative and stuff like that. I'm all about gun rights, things like that. But yeah, he just didn't, and he didn't know how to turn his mic off. You do a fantastic job of policing us on that. And I think Best, you were there. I don't know. I'd like to hear Best's explanation of it. I was like, damn, man.
Well, and to the host's defense, the host was doing a lot last night, getting ready for his campaign and stuff, and so we did jump in and stop him. So that's not even a thing. You know what I'm saying? But I hear where you're coming from, Neo. I do, and I appreciate your comment.
I apologize if I missed it. That part of it. I got to get 15 minutes of it, and I was like, this guy is driving me kind of crazy. Even though I agreed to him to a point, but I sure hope you guys shut me down, take my mic away if I go on a rant like he did.
I actually want to.
Anyways,
I just want to take responsibility. It's not on the judge. What happened last night was partially my fault. I was co-hosting, but so I'm taking some responsibility for that. Just to be clear.
Okay. It's fine. We got it figured out.
It's all good, and it was my space, so I take any responsibility for anybody who got out of line. And quite frankly, we handled him well, and we finally gave. So it's all good.
Well, and then the judge gave me a co-host later, and I jumped in and I kind of started shutting him up, and I think it helped, right, Judge?
Yeah, we finally got control of him, and he calmed down. But I would like to point out that our man of the hour is here.
Yeah,
and I'd like to have him speak and let us know what's going on.
Definitely. So welcome to the Conservative Political Forum, Arizona. We're glad you're here. We'd like you to be able to talk a little bit about uniting and everything that happened to you so we can support you, my friend.
So is that my introduction? Should I go ahead?
Yes, sir, please.
Introduce yourself and just say who you are and everything. We're cool.
So my name's Arizona Politico. I'm just a guy in Arizona who works in politics here. I obviously there are multiple candidates that the group I work for has endorsed, and I'm working to elect those candidates. But at the same time, I believe in all those candidates. I wouldn't be working for them if I didn't believe in them. And basically, I've been getting in online Twitter fights with some of the people who are in the opposition. You know, it's all in good fun. At least I think that's how it's typically supposed to go. But about 2 days ago, the Kerry Lake War Room official Kerry Lake campaign account released a tweet basically saying AZ Politico works for this group of people who support these ideals. Like, don't pretend you're an impartial actor, which, number one, anybody who knows me knows I'm very clear. I'm not impartial. I have candidates that I want to win. I will do whatever I can to get them across the line. So that was kind of the first thing. But then yesterday, the Kerry Lake War Room campaign account released a graphic that says AZ Politico 22 works for this group. And it was a logo of the group I work for. And quite frankly, it was a pretty crappy logo. So one of my friends made a much better looking logo out of it. And I thought that it was fantastic. And I thought nothing of it. You know, they're going to say who I work for. It's no problem at all. And then it got a lot worse. Then somebody got using that information from Kerry Lake War Room, looked me up on LinkedIn and was able to figure out who I was, and then started posting replies about like me and basically being like, this is the guy who runs this account, like, you know, like go after him, like he did blah blah blah, all sorts of other crap and nonsense. But then it got really bad. So somebody created a fake account with an old headshot and my name on it, with my name, and then the last word was enjoyer. And they got a hold of DMs from about 2 to 3 years ago where I said some pretty embarrassing stuff. Actually, it was something that I had to overcome through the power of God, and I'm glad I overcame it. But it was really embarrassing stuff nonetheless. And it was years ago. And they started then replying to every single tweet of my employers, my own, and like anybody who was talking about me with that. Then people started asking me about it, like, explain this. Why do you say these things? Yada, yada, yada. And it just got like really bad. Like I was worried there. I was like, holy crap, I could actually lose my job. And then people started tweeting out at Karen for Arizona, which is a candidate that I support and the organization I work for supports, fire this person and condemn this group and condemn this guy, with like pictures of me and stuff like that. And it happened on multiple occasions. Funny enough, they don't even know who I actually work for. They're tagging the freaking candidate. I don't work for the candidate. The candidate can't do anything about my employment. Again, just shows you what boneheads these people are. But it just got really, really bad. And so, and then that alt account kept posting that really embarrassing stuff. And then that alt account started using the N-word. And this is when it actually started to get kind of good for us. We were then able to use that to report it to Twitter and get the account shut down within just a couple hours because they were incessantly using the N-word. I figured out which account created the alt, by the way, and I'm working on getting their full account taken down, which is like 9,000 followers, because quite honestly, don't fuck with me, just to put it bluntly. But that's basically what happened. We got that alt account taken down. We got everybody leave it alone. It got so bad though that the Kerry Lake War Room even like tweeted out like, do not dox AZ Politico. Please respect his privacy at this time. Like it got so bad that the people who doxed me said leave him alone. And then that was last night. So I deactivated for a couple hours. I just wanted to get away from it all. I have a couple different alt accounts. One of them I was using to report all those tweets and get people on my side. And we got it all done. I'm not worried about it anymore. I'm back to using Twitter as normal. But it's just, what bothered me about it is that these are people that I am on the same side as, really, in the general. Like, I agree with them 90% of the time as opposed to 95% of the time. And yet they were treating me worse than I've ever been treated by a Democratic campaign. And I was like a spy once for the GOP, sneaking into Democratic events and getting kicked out and trying to record them to get like them to say things that would destroy them. And like I have never been treated so horribly in my life by any group of people other than that group of people. But it's over now. It's basically done. But that's the long and short of it. TLDR, bunch of jackasses who love Carrie Lake who don't even live in the state tried doxing me and I whooped their ass.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I want you to know we support you in here. We, all of us are in here. We support you. We are conservatives. And I'm sick of the same party fighting with each other. You know what I mean? Like, it drives me nuts that we have that going on. And, I'll share a real quick thing, AZ Arizona, with you, because I know you came in here one time when we first started this. We've totally changed since. We've grown and stuff. But somebody tried to dox me a couple months ago. It was a leftist though, but they went to my LinkedIn and did the same thing. They started taking like job stuff and posting it on Twitter and getting real personal. So I understand that stuff, and I want you to know that we are with you 100%, my friend.
And quite frankly, I'm not too worried. I even talked to my boss about it this morning, and he thought it was actually quite hilarious. And he was like, "No, like it's never gonna happen. You're never gonna get in trouble with us. Like we know, like you're doing an amazing job. Like y'all, not to brag, I just won a trip out of my entire Arizona team to go work on the Alaska congressional race because I won a competition. I am not getting like fired or anything close to that anytime soon, and that probably will never happen. If I end up leaving this job, it'll be because of my own accord. So I'm not terribly like worried about that anymore. Honestly, I had like just a brief moment of like worry. So I'm not really like worried about that. And more so like if people are going to dox me, so this is actually kind of cool. There's a very high chance I'm going to be on the #1 watched television network in the state of Arizona on election night, talking about the results as they come in. If that does work out, my name is out there forever and my anonymity is basically over. So I really it's been getting closer and closer to me getting rid of my anonymous account, and I think that on election primary night is the night that is going to happen. So I'm not like terribly pissed off about that. The problem is when you start leaking private DMs about shit I said years ago, that's also completely taken out of context. #1. And #2, you're actively like tagging my employer or other people I work for, trying to get me fired. That's where the problem came from. Like when the Carrie Lake War Room literally posted AZ Politico works for this group, I literally quote tweeted it and said, "Y'all, your graphics sucks. Did you forget to renew your Canva subscription?" Because no, I really don't care if people are going to dox me like that. The problem is when you're actively trying to destroy my life. That's when you cross the line. But again, I won that fight, and yeah, AZ Politico is going to be anonymous no longer very, very soon. I'm going to keep the Arizona Politico name because I really like it, but I'm probably just going to have a picture of myself on there within a month or two. Which, by the way, I'm not the worst looking guy in the world, so it's a treat for everyone.
Well, thank you for sharing tonight, and we really appreciate it, and I'm glad that you came to share that, and we support you. Anything you want to add, Judge?
Oh, also real quick, I was just going to say, you guys asked me to talk about unity. Just don't be a dick. And this is like all people, like even Democrats, like y'all just like we're working on the same side of things. Even like the freaking Democrats that I disagree with things on, we still like recognize the same issues and we still like looking for a better America. We just have different ways of getting about it. There's no need to destroy somebody's life because they disagree with you. Like, don't make politics personal. Keep politics outside of like your personal relationships, feelings. Like, I'll tell you, like right now, like I'm actually walking around in circles as a friend of mine who is a humongous supporter of Carrie Lake, Blake Masters, and those kind of people, is working on some cards in a little thing that we threw together. And it's because we put our different political differences aside, and like we're just friends over it, and we're just like overall friends. And like I am the secretary for a group that's also like total almost MAGA. And one of my friends is like huge on that too, because like I can get along with these people. And what's crazy too is that when this thing was going down, I was DMing it into the chats, and people who I even know work for the Carrie Lake team were like, "Yeah, that's not okay. Like, I'm so sorry this is happening." So like they were still like decency. Like 99.9% of people in politics are like decent people. It's just that 0.1% that kind of screws it up. But don't be part of that 0.1%. Just be decent, be kind, be loving, love all children as God loves all his children, and honestly, you'll actually go far in politics. But number two, if you don't make enemies, you'll go very far in life.
Exactly. That is the way it should be, Arizona. And Jason, thank you for having Arizona in tonight. Many of us here are huge fans of Arizona, and we're happy that he's back on. And we all came together and just thank you, Bess, for creating the hashtag Justice for AZ Politico, and for alerting all of us that we needed to get together and do what we could to help him out. We love him. We appreciate what he does, and we want him to keep doing what he does, because for someone to be doxxed for doing what they love and for helping fellow conservatives win elections is not what should be happening. And I've been in politics for most of my adult life as a consultant, as a campaign manager, and now as a politician who is elected. And I would never in a million years in that entire career have dreamed of doing that to somebody within my own party just because they fought for the other candidate in a primary race on the opposing side of me. That just flies against everything good Republicans, stand for. Thank you for what you do, Arizona. We appreciate you being here, and keep up the good fight.
Yes, thank you very much. And, we do the forum every Wednesday night, so you're always welcome to stop by and say hi. We have a different rotating co-host regularly and a group of us, so we'd be glad to see you sometimes.
Yeah, of course, I'll jump in when I can. I should probably head out here, though. Are there any questions for me or anything that anybody wants to ask? Just open it up real quick.
We're just honored that you're fighting the good fight. Kat has a question for you.
What is the Kari Lake War Room? What is that?
It's her official campaign account. So she has her own account at Kari Lake, which is the Kari Lake for AZ governor. And then the Kari Lake War Room is like her staffers. So they're the people that started it all. But again, I'm not going to hold something against them. What I hold against is the people who created the accounts who are actually trying to actively destroy my life. They were just trying to be like, AZ Politico is not impartial. He works for a group that's endorsed our opponent. So stop acting like it. And I get that. That's just petty, stupid politics. And a lot of these people on the Kari Lake team, quite frankly, have never worked in a political race in their life. This is their first time. They don't understand what the real world impacts are. And they certainly don't understand the long-term impact of doing that to somebody. So I'm willing to forgive and forget that. The other stuff, though, they knew what they were doing by trying to get me fired.
Well, I'm glad that you fought that back. That's what I'd be doing. I'm a fighter too, so I get it completely. I think that's Colin's got a question, and go ahead, Colin.
AZ, so you were doxxed, and you have voiced opposition to doxing before. Do you believe that there's any measures that should be taken in doxing in campaigns so that candidates should make for their employees?
It depends on each candidate. I mean, here's the thing. I wouldn't advocate for the Kari Lake War Room people be fired. Maybe somebody just go to them and be like, hey, you shouldn't do that, and then that's the end of it. I'm just also a very forgiving person, and I understand what your first political races are like, and I understand how heated it can get. Sometimes you act without thinking, and that's just how it is. But honestly, no. I would say each candidate has to make those own decisions. Each candidate can decide how their own campaigns run. But I'm not going to hold something against these people. The only one I hold something against is the people who are actively trying to get me fired. And they didn't work for campaigns. They were random out-of-state people who just hate that I don't support Kari Lake.
All right, thank you. I'm going to let Let's and the Best ask. Okay, I think the Best. I'll let Beth ask you a question real quick before you bounce.
Yeah, it's not really a question. I just want to thank you, Arizona, for everything, and for kind of shouting me out a couple times. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for all your great work.
Yeah, cool, man. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be in politics if I didn't love it and I didn't have a good time. Which, above all, the best part about politics is that you make a real world impact. I can say this year, as Arizona's deal with the worst inflation in the nation, I helped pass the lowest income tax in Arizona history and save the average consumer hundreds of dollars, which with 14% inflation statewide, really every dollar counts more than ever. And that's like the cool thing about politics. So I'd encourage all of you to get involved, work on campaigns, that sort of thing, because like the real world impact is very underrated, and is really what makes life almost worth living. All right, see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Arizona. Have a great day. Sorry, we'll get on. We're going to move to our next segment. Katz, would you please read the guidelines, and we'll just jump right into reeducation since we're right up against it.
All right, I will be glad to. Let's see. So these are our guidelines. We are freedom thinkers here in the Conservative Political Forum. We believe in and value our constitutional rights. We recognize that even amongst ourselves, we have varied opinions. This forum is a safe place for everybody. We don't tolerate personal attacks, and we don't do raised voices. We also ask, and this is important, please, be considerate of persons who prefer not to hear profanity. This is recorded. Some folks later on might listen with children in the room. Please be self-aware of your mic time, because we want to make sure that everyone who wants to contribute to a particular topic is able to do so. So we're gonna, and I just wanted to welcome, because I noticed there's quite a few new people in the room, so we give you a big welcome and thank you for being here. So we're gonna move right into our weekly segment. It's roughly a 30-minute segment. It's called Reeducation. So what that is, a weekly segment designed to provide education via point, counterpoint with each other on topics that are important to many Americans. Sometimes these topics can get emotionally charged. All forum guidelines, which is what I just explained, are in place for this segment. No changes. We expect our speakers to remain civil. If you have a mic, you'll have a chance to respond. Please raise your hand and we will call on you. Because this is a very short segment and we're talking about a particular topic, keep your answers concise so everybody can participate. Try to limit it to about 2 minutes so that we can get around to everybody. And thank you. So this week's topic is kind of a offshoot of last week. Last week we talked about climate change in general, but it was kind of such a diverse category that we really didn't have time to get into any specifics. So that's why this week's topic is specifically electric vehicles. So for the first part of this segment, we're going to talk about anything and everything having to do with the vehicle, the functionality, costs, insurance, maintenance, reliability, charging, anything about that. The only thing we're not going to talk about right off the bat, but we'll talk about in a little bit, is anything about the battery and anything about the electric grid and the ability to power these cars, these vehicles. So let's see if we've got some hands for someone to give their opinion and thoughts about electric vehicles. Okay. The best. You jump right in, bud.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna try to stay, with the guidelines that you set. Very simply, electric cars are just, differently powered cars, and any implementation of them for whatever reason you want to implement them is very much hindered by the cost of them, and the average person cannot, afford an electric car, really they can't really afford a regular car. For the very first time, the average price of a new car reached over $40,000, which is insane. And electric cars are way more expensive than that, even, most of them. So that's something that you always have to consider when you're thinking about implementing them at any scale. If they're a good idea, we don't want them to be restrained to just the super rich and people who can afford that.
Exactly. Great point. I mean, they are definitely expensive, and so many of us can't even afford, like a brand new regular vehicle. But something that people should be aware of in whatever state that you're from, quite a few of these blue states are either have some new laws in place or are trying to get new laws in place. For example, several of us are from Washington State, and there is a law in place that says by the year 2030, which really isn't that far away, they will no longer allow new gas powered vehicles to be sold. Every new vehicle purchased would have to be an electric vehicle. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, California either has that law or they're trying to pass it. So you may want to research in your state and see what's going on with that type of law, because it may affect you. I think Neo was next, if I'm not mistaken.
Hi, thanks, Kat. As a high voltage electrician, I do know more about this. It makes my head spin because I don't ever want to get off point and stuff like that. And of course, I know the math. I actually myself looked into. Well, I have a long commute, and I thought about like, well, maybe it would make a little bit more sense. But you start taking in some of the costs associated with owning your own electric vehicle, and then the distance, and then the life of the battery. And Bess kind of talked on that a little bit, by the way. But I and then the longevity of said battery. Now it's a lithium battery. Lithium batteries work a little bit different than, like, let's say, a lead acid or a NiCad battery. They work a little bit different, and there's weight involved, and there's all those kind of things. So the price point and everything else, it just isn't better for our environment. It just doesn't make any sense. I know that we have carbon emissions that we have to talk about and stuff like that, and that's James Lee's push, is always carbon emissions. And I don't know, maybe Jason can touch on the gas tax that maybe will happen. I heard on Dory that'll happen maybe in January of this year. But I would love to talk about this more and really break down the numbers of what you can't just plug your car in and it's free. Like, nobody gives away free electricity, okay? It just doesn't happen. And so it just doesn't make any logical sense that we all go out there and spend 30, 40, $50,000 or even upper from that. I think the cheapest, when I was like looking for them, I was finding vehicles for that had 70,000 miles on that wear and tear for right around 30 to 50,000 miles. And they start looking at the life expectancy of the battery, and I'm telling everybody, as a high voltage as electrical guy, man, I'm telling you, batteries don't last forever. They just don't. They wear out. Okay, and we can talk about the construction of batteries. We can do all that kind of stuff, and with the way that lithium and the way that NiCad and lead acid works, they all work a little bit different. The combustion engine has always been super reliable, and everybody can talk about that. But then we got to get back to emissions. I'm gonna stay on point. Should you buy an EV? I'm telling you right now, from a financial standpoint, you'd be retarded to do it. You would be absolutely retarded to do it. I would love it if somebody argues with me, because there's so many fuel efficient vehicles out there, and hybrid vehicles. I'd actually really argue for hybrid vehicles. I actually enjoy those. I don't own one, but I think that's the way to go, honestly. And you have to get the most life out of your vehicle, because we have families struggling, and you got to get the best bang for your buck. Boom.
Okay, great, Neo. And yeah, I agree with you completely. From what I understand, in my opinion, if and this is a big if, a person can afford one, I see it as being maybe okay if your lifestyle is such that you stay kind of within your community, you don't travel very far, maybe you work 20 minutes from your house, and you don't really do anything that's far away. In those kind of situations, maybe.
Yeah, but
But
I'll say this also, but I want to make sure that we stay on that point. I'm sorry, Kat, I didn't mean to cut you off. What I'm saying is that you also have taken the cost of the how long it takes to charge a vehicle. If I were to come and wire your house with your EV charger off of 120, you're looking to at let's say 6 at best to 10 hours. So, but they do have two 40-volt systems that'll actually do it a little bit faster. So that might possibly work better for you. So you have to have a garage. You have to have a place to plug this thing in. And
oh yeah,
if you're up in Seattle and stuff like that, and I know they're making EV stations and they're trying to make it all cool when parking sucks up there anyway. So it's such this balance of, I mean, after I blow, let's say 40 grand, and then I got to put all that stuff in my house so I can park it before I go to bed. It just sounds like a really bad headache.
yeah, I get you. So let's see. I believe Let's Talk was next, and then followed by Lane. And again, this is a short segment, so try to keep it to a couple minutes. We'll talk about batteries in just a short bit. Go ahead, Let's Talk.
Thanks, Kat. So I just want to mainly talk about when it comes to like the general like of switching to electric cars, because like I don't really agree with that laws that being put in that effect by the end of the decade should go into effect. Because keep in mind, like I just think of it pretty simply that lower middle like the lower and some middle class families can't like afford an electric car. Like we run like fossil fuels are like here in America, and I mean it's very important that we let people like decide. We can't force them. That's very simple. We can't force them to make a decision they don't want, because that's what's the most important in my opinion. Forcing this on somebody to buy an electric vehicle just does not seem right whatsoever. We have the fossil fuels here, and sure, if you have a fancy lifestyle and you want to buy an electric car, go ahead. You're making climate change better, I guess, in your opinion. But whatever. My point is batteries do wear out, like we said before, but I digress. People should still be able to have cars that run on gas. They're efficient still. They're affordable for people that are in the middle class that can't afford it. And really, you can't, like I said, you cannot force somebody who does not have that lifestyle to go electric. Like all these politicians think again, they know better, and that we're just going to easily go ahead and buy an electric car. That's not the way. We have to think for ourselves on really how we can live and what our lifestyle matches and how we can efficiently, travel, because that's really what's important. Not about, climate change is a whole different story, but I just simply believe that we should not be forced to have an electric vehicle. That's just me.
Yeah, and I get you completely. It annoyed me to no end when Pete Buttigieg said something like, I don't remember his exact words, but it was
Yeah, I remember that
basically
specifically.
everybody go buy an electric vehicle. And I'm like, oh, yeah, let
Yeah,
me find the
I
coins
found that very
between my,
distasteful because, again,
yeah,
what is he? Not to like go on about Pete Buttigieg for too long, but like, I don't really take the guy's word for a lot of stuff, and also, it would take at least 100 years to convert most people to electric. It would take decades, and they're trying to rush it out way too soon. They're trying to act like it's a thing overnight. It's not.
yeah. Thank you, Let's. Lane, welcome to the the Conservative Political Forum. We'd like to hear what you have to say about electric cars. Go ahead, please.
It's great to be here, and y'all have to excuse my southern accent. I'm from way down here in Alabama. I just ran.
Way cool.
We love that accent, buddy.
I just ran for the Alabama Public Service Commission down here. So I've been asked this question on a number of occasions, and I just don't see where the efficiency comes in for electric vehicles. I mean, if you look at the cost and you look at the batteries, in my opinion, batteries are lithium, and guess who has the largest lithium deposit? China. And in my opinion, I love American made, and the less dealings we have with China, I feel like the better off we are as American citizens. And you ask yourself this: some of these electric generators that are used for these charging stations to charge electric vehicles, some of these are powered by none other than natural gas. I don't see what we're accomplishing.
Bingo.
Do what?
Yeah, exactly. Herc, I'm going to go with you for a couple minutes, bud, and then we're going to start talking about batteries. But of course, anybody can still make general comments about the vehicles. That's okay. Go ahead, Herc.
The idea of electric vehicles being good for climate change is a lateral move at best. Even if every single car was switched out with electrical capacities, it would only make a 6% difference in emissions, but that's not counting all the materials it would cost to implement that. And that could go to better usage, like wave energy tech, geothermal, the list goes on and on. The problem with these technologies is they're very expensive, and private businesses don't really want to invest in them too much. The same thing with the thorium nuclear reactors. These could be game changers in the next decade. What looks most promising actually is clean hydrogen, which can also be stored as liquid hydrogen. And right now there's a very limited amount of stations, about 50 in California and a few in Hawaii. And some are being planned in New York. But as you can imagine, the hydrogen powered vehicles are even more expensive than the electrical vehicles. So, in conclusion, I would say that Elon Musk calling hydrogen mind-bogglingly stupid is another manipulative attempt. And this whole electrical vehicle thing making us feel good is very much like recycling plastic. It felt really good when it was going to China, and then China cut it off, and now about 90% of the plastics we return to recycle aren't even used. They just go into a landfill. So we have to be careful that we don't get greenwashed. I spent about 20 years with the Green Party trying to work with them on these subjects of not passing the price on to the consumers, which is inherently wrong, and they know it. But they're in such a manic rush to transform society that they don't really care about the solution being worse than the problem. So that's my beef with them.
Thank you. And excellent points. I agree completely. I just don't see it as being a huge benefit at this point. I think it was Neo, maybe, I could be wrong, that said he liked the idea of hybrids. I do too. But again, it's affordability, and especially with what's going on with our economy, it's like, really? It's hard to buy food to put on a table, and you're talking about a new car. Get real. So we'll open it up because we're kind of running short on time. But let's go ahead and open it up to talking about the batteries. And I think I'll just open it up to the electrical power grid and capacity questions. Capacity, if, a larger number of people have electric cars, can the grid really truly handle it? That to me is greatly in doubt. As far as the battery goes, my understanding is those are primarily composed of lithium, cobalt, and manganese, I think it is. And to mine those is heavily, there's a lot of pollutants with those that are damaging to the environment, to animals. If it's seep underground, it gets in the water, then it affects animals and could affect people. I mean, it really isn't good. And all these green lovers, it's like, do you realize that? And then the ability to recycle them is questionable because they're made in different ways, and sometimes they're very difficult to recycle. So I'm not going to say any more, but I'm going to go ahead and open it up for discussions on those points. And again, you can talk about anything about it. Neo, I think that you were next. Go right ahead, bud.
Well, hey, Kat. I mean, that's why I'm like, I'll kind of meet you in the middle, or meet a greenest in the middle, and that is that. Hey, with a hybrid, at least when your batteries need charged, then your engine charges it. So that kind of makes a little bit more sense. So it takes out of what I was trying to say before about you need stuff put in your home, or you need to find a charging station. The whole EV thing is retarded in my mind. I'm sorry, it isn't. But batteries are made different for different vehicles, so we can't get across this whole broad spectrum of whether you're buying a Tesla or you're buying a, Nissan puts one out, Toyota puts one. I mean, we can't get in that long discussion because I don't even know enough about to talk about it. I just look at them and just go, okay. But I think that if you want to meet me in the middle, maybe because I can put a little bit of gas and I get better gas mileage. But gas cars are so efficient right now. Like, I mean, my car, I drive a really nice Chevy Sonic. It's a 4-door sedan. I mean, it's a sweet looking car. And I get 43 miles a gallon. I think that's meeting in the middle. And Jay Inslee always wants to come out with all these rules that they're going to start taxing people who have cars that only get, or trucks that get 16 to 18 miles per gallon. That's a different discussion. But you're 100% correct. No matter what, when you're relying on a vehicle on battery power, those batteries are going to fail eventually. And I think Herc said that, and maybe Lane said it. I'm just saying, eventually, the combustion engine is going to be hard to replace as far as reliability. And that's the thing I have with it, is that some of us who are middle income families and stuff like that, where you get, hey, my truck's got 200. It's a nice truck, but it's got 200,000 miles on it. The reliability, when you introduce batteries and the cost of said battery, you're never going to get those costs back. Once you pay that loan off, you're going to have to replace those batteries, and it's going to be a huge cost. So I don't think they're solving all the problems here. I think they're making more problems, and we're grabbing the coattails of just the climate change stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm with you. Lane, again, glad to have you. Love the accent, and go right ahead and hit us up.
Well, I don't believe our power grid is capable of handling the capacity. I mean, if you look at not too long ago what happened in California, the governor was asking people to stop charging their electric vehicles because they were overloading the power grid. And as I've said before, I prefer American made, and the lithium for these batteries comes from China. And less dealings I feel like we have with China, the better off we are as a country. And I'll hit on this right quick also. I've got, like he said, like Neo said, they was talking about taxing people that drive a 16, 18 mile a gallon vehicle. I mean, I've got a Chevrolet diesel truck because I use it to pull equipment around, and they have not produced an electric vehicle that can pull equipment, and I don't believe they ever will.
Cats, you there?
Yeah, well, Lane was talking, and all of a sudden I didn't hear him anymore, and it sounded like he was in the midst of saying something, so I was waiting.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah.
But what I was saying was I had a Chevrolet 25. I've got a Chevrolet 2500 that I use to pull equipment, tractors and stuff around. And I don't know of an electric vehicle that can pull a tractor around. I believe it would probably fall to pieces the second you hooked one up to it.
Yeah, I agree. And I was wondering about that because it's kind of like it was talking about things like, okay, so let's say your electric vehicle said that it had a 150-mile range, and it talked about if you were on a trip and you were going down the highway, like it seemed to be saying you couldn't go more than 60 because if you went faster than that, it was going to drain your battery super fast. And even if it said it had 150-mile capacity, the recommendation I understand is that they say that you shouldn't let it get down all the way, maybe like 80%, and then you should stop and charge it. And
Right.
that's where they talk about the freedom of these vehicles, because I think of the way that we used to travel. I mean, sometimes we would drive for like a good part of the day, trying to get to a certain destination. and we could not even get that far because we'd have to stop, charge, and it would take us, I don't know, like maybe almost twice as long, maybe not quite that much, to get to our destination because of that. It would take out the enjoyment. Like if we were trying to get to where my family lives halfway across the country. And so there's a freedom aspect. And I thought, well, if you can't go more than 60 miles an hour on a highway in these things, how in the world are they going to develop it for a larger type of vehicle? I don't see it.
Right. And as of right now, I mean, I don't see it being cost efficient nor time efficient. It takes longer if your electric vehicle is almost out of battery to charge than it would be to come to a gas station and fill your vehicle up.
And another thing about those batteries that people should be aware of is the countries where they have like lithium and cobalt and they do this mining, often they are using like child slave labor. And I mean, is that really what we want, our money to go toward? Is something that was made by people more or less in slavery? Neo, what you got, bud?
Well, I just, hey, say it with me, Kat. I'm old enough to remember. At least I think I'm old enough to remember. And please correct me if I'm wrong. That I'm pretty sure that the president of the United States or somebody, maybe it was the governor, that by whatever year we're going to have a fully electric military. Am I wrong when I say that?
I don't think you're
Uh,
really wrong, but he did sign several executive orders saying that new vehicles that the government purchased are like kind of should be electric. But I really don't think, for obvious reasons, that there's a serious plan to like get rid of every tank we have and get electric tanks which don't exist and won't exist for a while.
Okay, well, and I understand you're right. That was kind of a ridiculous statement, but I think as we're talking about this conversation about electrical vehicles, I just think it needs to be brought up because I work for the government, I work for electrical industry, and it gets brought up in commissioner meetings and stuff like that, where like, hey, when are we going to start getting like electric bucket trucks and doing stuff so us guys can work on power lines? And it's just like I'm like, this is the most ridiculous thing in the world I could ever think of. I mean, it's. I have so much to say about it, but it just doesn't. I'm with Lane on this. It just doesn't seem as a trucker, as a guy that has a great accent. The cat loves it and wants to talk to him all night. You guys could take this off after the forum, but I'm just saying, I'm like, holy crap, man! Like, it just doesn't seem logical, and I think that's what gets me a little bit crazy about the topic.
yep, I know what you mean. Um,
2-minute warning.
oh, thanks. Herc, what you got, bud?
There's a couple problems that I'd like to address real quickly. There's 1.4 billion cars on the road estimated right now. By the end of the decade, it'll be around 2 billion. So if the hydrogen clean energy battery is perfected, they believe it'll be swapped out instead of having to be recharged. So that's a good thing. It'll only take about 5 minutes. And it has something like a 250-mile range they're estimating. And that's probably going to increase, they predict. The real problem is what the Greens don't want to talk about. It's overpopulation and not having enough resources to take care of the people in need. So that's something we really have to look at. Maybe eminent domaining the fossil fuel industry. I know that sounds crazy to conservatives, but that might be a good way to get money to the people instead of the corporations that are actually polluting the oceans with plastics.
Good points. Yeah, there's so much about this I didn't even get to tie into, but I mean, like insurance costs are more, uh, depreciation kind of sucks. If you get in a wreck, The insurance adjusters have more of a tendency to total it because of the way that the battery is integrated and other parts are integrated into the vehicle. Like there's a thought that, it could be ruined. And, there's just so many things. Maintenance costs tend to be higher. So it's not just the other things, the cost, the freedom factor. I think that's one that's a big one to me. And, just the other things with the batteries and sustainability. It's not what people think it is, like the magic pill, the magic bullet. It's just not. Any final thoughts? Because we got to wrap.
I think that's it.
All right.
Neo, we're moving on, buddy. Sorry. I know you got your hand raised. Sorry, my friend.
Thanks, everybody, for your participation. Excellent information.
We always appreciate your opinion, Neo. You got good opinions down there, buddy. We're gonna go into headlines in a second, and I've got a scripture that I hope helps somebody tonight, and then we'll move on into headlines. In overtime hour, I've got a couple stories I'm going to read, and the judge is going to take over, and kind of run whatever he wants to talk about with those stories or whatnot. And thank you once again, Judge, for being here. We are always grateful for you, my friend. Did you want to say something, Judge?
I just was going to say thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be here co-hosting with you tonight.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I enjoy it. And I'm always grateful for our friendship. All right. So before we do that, though, I'm going to hand Kat over the guideline reading for a quick second of the forum guidelines we have. She'll read it real quick, and then we're going to go into headlines. And Judge Jay, would you please watch for hands during the headlines?
Yes, sir. Certainly.
All right, I'll take it away. Welcome to new people. We are so glad and so honored to have you. These are the guidelines. As freedom thinkers here in the Conservative Political Forum, we believe in and value our constitutional rights. We recognize that even amongst ourselves, we have varied opinions. This forum is a safe place for everybody. We don't tolerate personal attacks, and we definitely don't do raised voices. We ask that you be considerate of persons who prefer not to hear profanity. The space is recorded. Some people later on might listen and may have children within earshot. Please be self-aware of your mic time. We want to make sure everyone who wants to contribute to a particular topic is able to do so.
Thank you, Kat. All right, guys. So Judge Jay, you'll check hands. I'm going to read several headlines. I've been studying these for the last couple days. There's a lot to talk about. So you guys can raise your hands to the topics that maybe hit you, and we'll jump right into those topics, and then we'll just go from there for the next hour. And in overtime, I'll read those, and you'll go to the judges' topics that we have. So here we go. We are moving into those. All right. So Jill Biden apologizes for her taco comments about Latinos. First Lady Jill Biden apologized for her recent comments comparing Latinos to breakfast tacos at a Hispanic conference in San Antonio, Texas. Biden's press secretary, Michael LaCrosse, tweeted the First Lady apology for her was an apology for her on Tuesday, the day after she made a comparison in her speech at the 2022 conference while talking about Udino's president Raul, I'm going to brutalize this name, Yazari, worked in the organization. Raul helped build the organization with the understanding that the diversity of his community as the Bogodas of the Bronx. I'm totally brutalizing his name. I read it and I still screwed it up. Sorry, guys. As beautiful blossoms of Miami and as unique as breakfast tacos here in San Antonio is your strength, Biden said Monday. I find that my question to you guys might be, is the whole Biden family racist? Because that's, I find that to be annoying. So sorry for brutalizing that story. I did read it a couple times before and I still screwed it up. So Fauci returns yesterday. The doctor claims getting people to mask up and get boosted might be a hard sell these days. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases Director Dr. Anthony Fauci returned to MSNBC on Tuesday to recommend viewers continue to mask up indoors and get their second booster shot to combat the spread of the BA.5 variant of coronavirus. Though Fauci admitted it's a hard sell to convince Americans to do these things nowadays. Of course it is. I'm not doing it next time. Forget that. All right, so this one I know we're going to talk about. I saw the video tonight, and I'm sure we'll be talking about this. Surveillance footage captured the gunman of the Uvalde school shooting entering the building with an AR-15 rifle, and later showed the officers in body armor milling in the hallway outside the fourth grade classroom where 19 children and 2 teachers were killed. The video published Tuesday by the Austin American-Statesman shows parts of the nearly 80 minutes that passed between the gunman walking into Robb Elementary through the unlocked door at the time of his death. It put a stop to America's deadliest shooting in nearly 2 decades. So, I mean, that's pretty bad. I mean, I saw the video, guys, and it really kind of made me boil over. So we might talk about it. It was ridiculous. I couldn't believe they're just standing there. They ran away from the door when they heard shooting. You're cops. I just feel as if, man, I don't know. That's just the protector in me, I guess. Twitter staffers are struggling to stay focused amid the turmoil caused by Elon Musk's decision to withdraw from the deal to purchase the company. The social media platform employees appeared distressed after Musk filed to terminate his merger agreement with the company on Friday. While the company said it plans to fight the decision legally, its staff members say they were not informed of the decision and have not been told anything by the leadership about the proceedings since the filing was released. Aw, Twitter staffers. That's how I feel about that, just so you guys know. So Joe Biden had another gaffe last week that they tried to cover up, and it looks like the White House is at once again falsifying the historical record of the transcript of what Joe Biden and his team say. On July 8th, Joe Biden appeared to have a Ron Burgundy moment during his remarks about his abortion executive order, seemingly reading the teleprompter when he said, "End of quote, repeat the line." Then the White House assistant, press secretary Emily Simmons, insisted on Twitter that Biden said, "Let me repeat the line," although it was untrue given the video that exists of the event. And after Simmons said that, the official White House transcript falsely reflected that he said, "Let me repeat the line," when he did not. And I've heard that. He did not say, "Let me repeat the line." So that's kind of crazy. All right, here's one. Judge, you might want to talk about this later. This really annoys me. Liberal group offers cash payouts to workers to identify the locations of the conservative SCOTUS justices. So a group called Shut Down DC issued the lucrative offer in a tweet last week, offering big payouts to DC service industry workers who informed the group on the whereabouts of the justices. If you see Kavanaugh, Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, Coney Barrett, or Roberts, DM us with the details, the group said in the tweet. We'll Venmo you $50 to confirm sliding and $200 if they're there 30 minutes later, the message continued. That's not good. I don't like that, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. All right. So President Biden was in Israel today. President Biden visit Israel on Wednesday, adding yet another entry to his long list of gaffes, mistakenly saying we must keep alive the horror of the Holocaust. The president made the flub shortly after touching down in Israel, kicking off a 2-day visit in the Middle Eastern country. So he said he said we must keep alive the horror of the Holocaust. That's ridiculous, and I just it's really annoying. And this one is for Garrison to respond to, probably. If you guys want to respond too, there's this one. An Oklahoma man allegedly killed his friend over the weekend because he thought that the victim had summoned Bigfoot to kill him while they were fishing, according to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation and local media reports. Larry Dole Sanders, 53, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. So we're going to talk about these, but I forgot to do what I usually do before I do this. So hang on to your thoughts on my articles, but I want to give you a scripture. I hope if you guys are having a rough week that this scripture will help you. We're all working hard to do things in our lives. And in Galatians 6:9, it says, "Let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap if we do not lose heart," or if we do not give up, is what this version says. So, don't give up, guys. If you're fighting the good fight, if you're struggling, just don't give up. So, all right. Judge Jay, were you looking at the hands, and whose hand was raised first?
Yes, sir, I was. And the only hand that I saw come up during the call of the headlines was Kelli when you spoke of the Uvalde shooter video. And now Neo's hand is up, and now...
Okay. All right, let's go with Kelli first then.
Thanks, guys. It's nice to see all of you tonight. So on Uvalde, I watched the video, and I have tried very, very hard to reserve judgment on them until I saw that video today. Being a former law enforcement, I really just have a desire to reserve that judgment. But what I saw in that video was absolute cowardice. And as a former law enforcement, they all ought to be in jail. So that was what I was going to say.
Thank you, Kelli. And I agree. And I was boiling when I saw it. When my wife and I saw the video, we're like, go in. I mean, I know there's rules and stuff, but I'm like a protector. And I just would be like, I don't know. I that's how I feel. I'm like a protector. I would be like, no, I'm taking this fool out. I don't know. It'd be some stealth Splinter Cell stuff, but I would want to go in and defend. So, Neo, go ahead.
I'll just piggyback on what Kelli said. I 100% agree with her. But here's the part that bothers me is that all of us stayed a little bit skeptical, but didn't all of us kind of knew something was up? I'm still not 100% convinced what happened and how it went down. If it wasn't planned and stuff, maybe it's a conspiracy theorist me. Fine, call me that. I'm good with it. But it's just something just doesn't seem right. And I think Mar's in the room, and I think something's just not right on the whole thing. And it's just, I don't like any of it. I think we've had the wool pulled over our eyes so many times that we're just kind of tired of this trash and the media, and the media just shoves everything down our throats, and we have to come up with this stuff on our own. I just don't like any of it.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from, Neo. It's just frustrating, and we don't know everything that's going on, but I feel, like I said, I'll stand by my statement of you got to do something. You can't stand around for an hour and a half. You can't be in there while kids are screaming.
Absolutely,
and they're getting shot.
Brother, I'm right behind you. I'm a protector, just like you. I have 3 kids, and I love them to death. Hey, man, I hear what you're saying. I'll take a bullet for your kids any day.
My 2 cats. Anyways, your hand is up. Go ahead, buddy.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about Biden's Israel trip. So it's for 2 days, if I remember. So when Biden landed in Israel, the very first thing that he had another gaffe. I don't know if you knew about it, but as soon as he got off Air Force One, he looked around confused and said, "What do I do now?" And that didn't surprise me whatsoever because this is Biden we're talking about. But I had a conversation with my mother about this when I told her that Biden was going to the Middle East, and I asked her about like Biden's statement as well about what was the statement again about the Holocaust? Was it honor the Holocaust? Remind me.
Yeah, let me get to the article real quick, and I will read it for you real quick again.
Yeah, because I asked her if it sounded bad, and she said, I mean, for example, my family does not like Biden whatsoever. We're all conservatives, but she said there was nothing wrong with it. But I kind of think otherwise, because again, it didn't sound exactly right to me when I first heard it. And
He said, "We must keep alive the horror of the Holocaust."
Oh. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he said. Yeah, that doesn't sound right to me whatsoever. Yeah, that was definitely a gaffe on his part. But
wait, I said horror. I meant honor of the Holocaust. Sorry,
honor.
But still honoring the Holocaust. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
it doesn't
still,
sound See, that's what I mean. It doesn't sound exactly right. And then I also had a conversation with my mother about like why he's in the Middle East specifically, because I mean, again, we're all trying to wonder exactly if he's going to Saudi Arabia or not. You know what I mean? So that's a question as well. And I did ask her like what she thought, and she believed that you could easily have a phone conversation about like this whole oil ordeal, but she believes that Biden is going to Saudi Arabia to strike up a deal, a negotiation, personally, because that could be done face to face.
Yeah, what do you think, Judge? Do you think that's what's going on?
It's hard to say what Biden's plan is or why he's going. Obviously, if he's going to Saudi Arabia, he's going to go there. He's going there specifically to try to ask for more fuel and to try to open up channels of trade there on that regard, and to get more oil coming in on a foreign trade basis. The reality is he's already been warned by Macron and others, foreign leaders, that Saudi Arabia is tapped out. I mean, they are max at export right now because we dropped the ball there in getting what we could get from them. And so they've maxed out their production, and they're sending it to everywhere else in the world. And China's got it and is getting it. France is getting it. Germany's getting it. Anybody that can get it from them is getting it from them. They don't have the capacity to produce more to send it to us.
Oh yeah, Judge, I did also forget to mention, she also did believe that if the negotiation did happen, that if there was a trade-off, it wouldn't really benefit us, of course, but since Biden is weaker, obviously, that he'd be willing to give them something in return for it, like in a negotiation, sort of. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I shudder to think what it is he would trade off to them, that he's going to give them of hours to make that happen, because it's such a temporary gain for us when we are and have the ability to be energy independent. What in hell would we give them? That I mean, whatever we would be trading off, from past dealings of our country with theirs, it's usually anything we give up to them is not temporary in nature. It is a permanent give, and we can't get it back. So it's probably either land or money. It's something we can't get back, and it's a huge give on our end that's not replaceable in terms of resources typically. And so we need to really think twice about dealing with the Arab nations and not become beholden to them. But I'm not the one who shapes national policy. I'm just over here bloviating on the conservative political forum. But I digress, Jason. But while I'm on here and speaking at the moment, I want to just let you know the call order. We've got you had Neo, then Lane, Mamacita, Cats, and then the best.
Yeah, let's do it. Go ahead, Neo.
No, I already went. I think Mamacita Mars next.
I had Lane, then Mamacita.
Yeah, I think it's Lane first. I think he's right.
Well, two things I want to address. One, nothing surprises me with Biden anymore. I mean, we don't need to honor the horrors of the Holocaust, but we don't need to forget what happened. So we can make sure that does not happen again. And on the Uvalde shooting, I think that was a shame what happened. I think that was pure cowardness in the video. And we just had a small shooting up here in Jackson's Gap where 6 people got shot. Please keep keep the families in your prayers. And I want to address this one thing. Beto O'Rourke, when he walked down there while the governor and everybody was meeting, shame on him. You should not try to turn something like that into a political ploy.
Yeah. Oh no, I agree with you, Lane. I think that's ridiculous. I know that the best is in here, but he's not on a mic right now. But he said that Beto did that just to get points, and it really did help him. So that's even colder to do. And so yeah, that's ridiculous. I'm totally with you on that, Lane. Mamacita.
Hi, everyone. I just have a couple comments. First was about the Jill Biden's remark. Yes, they are. In my opinion, I absolutely believe they are totally racist. From Biden speaking out earlier in the primaries when he was saying, "You aren't black if you don't vote for me," and in the 70s with the segregation. They keep saying these racist things, and there seems to be no repercussions for it. And for me, I'm Hispanic, so I find that pretty weird that they get away with all these things. But imagine if Trump or anyone else said something like that, there would be all kinds of issues with that. And I just find it really fascinating that these people keep getting away with the most vulgar things, and it's just really mind-boggling to me. And then in regards to the Uvalde shooting, there are so many questions that I have regarding that, because a lot of things don't make sense. From, like, I believe there was a car chase prior and a propped open door, and how long it took for them to get to those children, and just so many things don't make sense, to the point where I'm just like wondering what's really going on with that, because it doesn't make sense to me. Nothing about that makes sense to me. I have more questions than I do answers. In fact, having parents being, shoved down not to go get to their children just seems mind-boggling to me, because if it were my kids, there would be nothing you could do to stop me. I would go get my kids. And I'm amazed that they put those parents through that they waited that long to get to those kids. And there's just so many questions. There's so many questions with that, and I just don't understand why it just seems like this dark, mysterious thing, and it's almost like the door was let open for this guy to go in there and shoot these kids. So I just have a lot of questions regarding that.
I would be really frustrated, and I agree with you that if the government had anything to do with this at all, I would be very upset, because why do you allow this stuff to happen? I'm not saying they did. I don't want to speculate, because I'm not into speculating. We're here, I'm an opinion person. This is the forum. Everybody has their opinions, but I would say that would be my frustration, if that's the case. And we can't say for sure what is or what isn't, but I know for a fact that the gunman had pure evil in his heart, and he looked, it really is annoying. Go ahead, Kat.
Well, I said this in the judges space last night, and I'm going to say it again here in regards to the shooting, because maybe it sounds kind of conspiracy theory-ish or something, but I don't care. There's something really weird about it. I can't believe that those officers would just hang out in the hallway for 80 minutes or however long it was while those kids got picked off and died. But anyway, it just seems to me like it was almost purposeful. Like whoever gave the order for them to not do anything about it until it was too late for 19 kids just feels like, did somebody do that on purpose so that they could once again say, oh, cops are so bad. Look at these horrible cops who didn't save those kids. They could have saved them. What do we need cops for? They can't even, kill this shooter, blah, blah, blah. But then the second thing is that it also opened the door again for these attempts at gun control and attempts at erasing or eroding the Second Amendment.
Yeah, I mean that they'll push it any way they can. Judge, do you have something to add to that?
No, I was just going to make sure that we keep the lineup rolling. Mama Sita had her hand up first, and then Jeannie.
Perfect. Thank you, Judge. Go ahead, Mamacita. Go ahead, Mar. We can call her Mar, guys, for short.
Thank you. That's another question that I have is, well, actually, there's a statement that I had. Didn't they do like a drill prior to this about a gun shooting and in preparation for a possible attack, and then they didn't do anything according to what they had planned? That's one question. I believe I read that somewhere. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I do believe I read that, which makes me curious if they had a drill and they didn't do anything according to the plan. What was the drill for? So that makes me wonder. Second, I wonder how a kid can afford those types of guns. They're not cheap. So it kind of makes you wonder, how did he get possession of those? And then second, I do believe it does look like a setup for the police. Like it took so long for them to respond, and it shed a terrible light on them. Terrible, because it's like, what are you doing for this? These kids are screaming. Like, why aren't you doing anything? And it doesn't bode well for the police. And I'm pro police, so it sets me off just thinking that they were standing there while these children are dying. So that's why I say there's so many questions that I have that don't make sense, that almost sound like a setup. And I know it's a conspiracy, and I'm probably wrong, but I just feel like, how does this even happen? And the way it went down, it just doesn't seem right, and it's definitely evil. And I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's, you just, we can go on about it, but I mean, like you said, we don't know everything. I mean, we can speculate. It's frustrating. It's frustrating to see. And, I had an experience in my life with a cop that made me hate cops for a while. Now I'm pro cop, but I also do know there are cops that are not good, and I'm not saying these guys aren't good. You gotta balance it out. But one of those in the video, I'm just gonna give my opinion here. The cops that went up to that door and ran when the gunshots happened, that's what set me off. I was like, man, I'd be breaking down that door. I mean, do what you have to tactically to get in there. If you have to have a guy go around to the window and pick the kid off so he doesn't kill any more kids, you don't let him keep doing that. That's what angers me the most. So I'm with you, Mar, and everybody else. Jeannie, welcome.
Yeah.
Hi.
Can I answer her question real quick about the training?
Sure.
Well, I mean, I can't conspiracy. I felt like, go ahead, Judge. Do you have something you can say about that? Because I don't really have an answer for that.
No, well, no.
No, she asks about the training, which is factual. So yes, Mar, they had a training exactly as you thought in March. Same stuff, same situation, which makes it even weirder. And I'm sorry, Jeannie, I interrupted you, but I wanted to answer Mar's question.
I didn't know about that, so I didn't even answer it. Jeannie, go ahead.
I think this entire police station, they're in a very small town. I don't think they were well trained, because they're not city police officers. They're just a small community. And I am not in any way condoning their behavior. But it's kind of like, you never know in any given circumstance how you're going to react. You know, when you're in a big city and you're the new guy uh, in these crime-ridden cities, you always have a mentor beside you to help you get through these. These guys were just blinded by this, and I I think they acted atrociously, but I think I would have done everything in my life to save even one child. And why they did what they did, I don't know. But I don't think there's any conspiracy. I think it was just human nature that they wanted to live to see the next day. And however horrific that sounds, I just think that's what happened.
I want to say, Jeannie, that you kind of helped me not be boiling when you say that, because it is true. We do make mistakes. We can't forget that they're human, and that some of them might be in the following orders, but so you are correct. Human nature and some of these things, I agree. Thank you, Jeannie. Back to Mar.
Okay, so about that. So when police are trained for specific situations, they are. I don't really know the small town aspect. Well, actually, I do because I lived in a small town. But I sort of think that police are trained for this. It's kind of like the military. You're trained to go to war. You're trained to go into combat. Police are trained to be in harmful situations. I I don't know why the police ran, and it could be the human factor, but the fact of the matter is, those are kids. Like, honestly, I would die before I let a child die. It just doesn't make sense to me. And especially if I was tactically trained, there would be no way you would be able to keep me out of that building. I would at least try to get a couple kids, and I don't understand that. As police who are trained for these situations, and yeah, there is a human aspect in it, and perhaps that's not the job for you if that's what you're going to do is run, because your job is to protect and serve. Now, I do know there's situations where fear does take over, and it's happened to all of us. But gosh, you hear babies crying. I mean, my fear would die the moment I heard a child scream for their life. There wouldn't be nothing to stop me. And those are things I can't wrap my head around. And I could be unemotional with, or maybe I'm just too emotional. That's probably what it is. But I just feel like there's just something crazy about it. And it's a very unfortunate situation that children had to die because of lack of response, lack of courage, lack of training, and it's probably that as well, lack of training. Whatever reason, kids died for no reason, and some of them could have been saved.
Yes, and thank you for that. I agree, and it's a sad situation. The video came out. We saw what happened. It makes it even more frustrating. But let's hope that things just get better from here. Let's hope. We have to have hope. We have a president that doesn't give hope. We have a president that decides that we're not gonna. Everything is white supremacy and this and that, and he just kind of goes off and doesn't give hope. I liked President Trump because he always talked about our country in a hope-filled conversation. Ronald Reagan did the same. I don't remember George Bush. George Bush would do it sometimes, but going back. But you can't talk about all the bad of your country and not talk about the good. So I agree. Let's hope that this is a lesson learned, and the next time things will be different. And with that being said, I want to ask you guys about the story that I read a little bit ago, because this really is bothering me too. The double standard that we have with our judges. I know we've talked about it before, but a liberal group offered cash payouts to workers in D.C. to go survey the justices wherever they were and find them. I mean, that sounds like a hit job to me. It was Kavanaugh, Alito, Thomas, Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, and they wanted DMs to tell them if they're still there, and they'd pay them $50. And if they were there for a half hour, they'd pay them $200. What is going on in that situation that it is okay for that to happen? Judge Jay, before I see all the hands that just jumped up, I've got all you guys in the order I do. But before I do, Judge, I need your opinion on this, because this is really kind of like another frustrating thing that this stuff is allowed. And then it'll be Jeannie, Let's, and Mar to talk after you.
Well, First of all, thank you for asking my opinion on this matter. As a member of the judiciary, even though I'm very far down on the totem pole compared to a Supreme Court justice on the United States highest of courts, I'll say this. When we look at a judge's perceived politics and their difference in opinion as it appears to be different from our politics, and we start attacking them based on that, we start seeking them out and hunting them down, we are tearing away at the fabric. Well, first of all, it's a crime to do that, number one. It absolutely violates certain code sections that are in our U.S. federal code. To attack them in any kind of way or to go after them can be prosecuted just as vigorously as if you were to go after the President of the United States. They are the top members of the third branch of the U.S. government. And so they are to be treated with the exact same reverence as if someone were to attack the President of the United States or the Speaker of the House or the Senate Majority Leader. No different. So to go against or to attack any member of the U.S. Supreme Court or any member of the federal judiciary, period, simply because you don't think you agree with them or their views, is absolute. First of all, it's un-American, but more importantly, it flies in the face of our law, and it is an absolute violation of our law, and it is a criminal violation of our law to boot. You can be criminally charged. You can be put away for many, many years if you're convicted of the crime and found guilty. And so do not do it. It's an absolute no-no, but we should not be putting our judges in harm's way for doing their job. They are doing their job. Their job is to interpret the law. Whether we like their interpretation of the law or not, we are not to attack them for it. That's my 2 cents.
So to that end, I want to bring up before you go on. I found a tweet last week from a guy, and I'll see if I can find it after this. And he was like, "Yeah, I was at the restaurant that Kavanaugh was at, and I was helping disrupt him because, and he had to go through the back door, and he was interrupting my rights. So yeah, his rights for abortion is what he's talking about. You know." They're being harassed everywhere, Judge. And that's what bothers me is like, why are we not arresting people doing this and putting a stop to it?
If this were happening during the era and time when Roe was decided, or let's fast forward to now and Roe was just being decided the way it was back then, and you had 5, maybe 6 left-leaning or so-called liberal Supreme Court justices of the 9 that are on the court being attacked like this, being hunted down, and people pulling these kinds of stunts, I can assure you the people on the left and the people of the center and even people on the right, because we most logical, most patriotic people on the right absolutely 100% respect the Constitution and the constitutional function of the courts, would not stand for this kind of behavior by people on the fringe. The people that are doing this crazy behavior, I can assure you, are people on the fringe left, and their behavior should not be tolerated. It should be hunted out, sought out, and stamped out. And that is harsh language, but that is what you do to people breaking the law. And that's exactly what would be called for by people on the left if it were happening to judges on the left.
Thank you, Judge. I am 100% with you as always in a lot of the stuff that you talk about. I am like 100% on board with it. Jeannie, go ahead. Then Let's, then Mar, and then Vibe.
In the state of Washington, we have a representative in Congress named Jayapal, and someone came into the street by her wherever she lives and was shouting and protesting outside her home. And within 24 hours, they had that person picked up because it was a progressive person being protested against. And you compare that to Washington, D.C., does to people who are harassing judges, which is blatantly against the law. And it's so hypocritical.
Yeah, definitely. And I thought that was weird how they just jumped on that for her, but they're just allowing this stuff in DC. It is a double standard, as I always call it. And, Todd Herman, he's a prominent radio host that does his own podcast now, always says where there's a double standard, there's a hidden agenda. And the hidden agenda is let's attack the conservatives over and over again, I feel like. But, rules for thee, but not for me. If you mess with our judges, we're going to take care of you. So it's weird. Let's go ahead, my friend. And once again, I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here as well. So when it comes to like this whole double standard thing, it's basically in the Democrats' playbook. I mean, when I first heard about this, like how much money that they were offering to like go after these justices. I mean, this is something that's been going on for the last month since Roe versus Wade got overturned. I mean, you saw people dressing up as Handmaid's Tales outside of the houses, in front of Amy Coney Barrett's house. I mean, and you got like people acting like, Brett Kavanaugh doesn't deserve a peaceful dinner, and they're talking about their rights and all that stuff, about abortion rights and stuff. And they're making a big scene. And it's like, it's in a restaurant, man. I mean, I get you don't like the guy for some odd reason, but like, for the fact for you to act like an absolute child over like this, I mean, it's not the end of the world. You just need to calm down, take a breath, which I know you can't do because, I mean, you're making an absolute scene, of course, and you probably don't know any better. But it really gets me angry that they're really willing to endanger the justices just because they don't agree with them. I wouldn't wish any harm on Ketanji Brown Jackson or Sonia Sotomayor or any of those justices. No, but apparently it's okay when it happens to our judges. Again, why is it that this is okay in our country? And the fact that like law enforcement like has stopped them, but like our justices had to go into hiding. They had to go to undisclosed locations because some people knew where their houses were. Is this a way that we need to live when our own justices, if they overturn a case, they live in fear?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I don't think it should be happening. And I love what the judge said about it. And I'm 100% with him on that, that's just got to be stopped. You cannot have these guys doing this. And before the 10 o'clock hour, I'm going to ask the judge another question for you guys because I want to know some things. But we'll go on to Mar and then Vibe. Go ahead, Mar.
Yeah, I liked Let's what he had to say. That's true. And everyone else with the double standards. It doesn't seem. I think we live in a bizarre world where just one way gets to do whatever they want, and then they come down on the other side if they just like cross the street funny. It just amazes me that the January 6th people were still in jail for like being peaceful protesters, and yet they could stalk judges. And it doesn't bode well because it doesn't give. How do I want to say it? So if they're stalking judges, they're living in fear. So they're going to be scared to make fair and just decisions because they're afraid of the outcome. And that's not how the law works. I mean, they're judges to interpret the law, not to make decisions based on fear. And by all means, who wouldn't be fearful of people stalking them? And most of them have children. And it's like that isn't right. They should be protected. Those people should be off limits. They should be able to make those determinations without any repercussions because that's their job. I mean, imagine going to somebody else's job because you didn't get what you wanted and you made their life miserable. It's not, and I know it's probably not the same thing, but it's kind of the same wavelength. They are judges and they are off limits. And I don't understand how this could be acceptable because if the roles were reversed, like the January 6th people, they'd be in prison for life. So I don't understand how we have these double standards and nobody sees that. Even the left has to wonder, wow, this is just kind of one-sided. I mean, eventually it just looks that way, and you got to know that's not okay. I mean, people have to know what's going on is not okay. It's absolutely wrong.
Yeah, it's definitely not okay. You're correct. I just we have like 2020, the city's being riots and stuff going on in 2020, and you got CNN in the background going, hey, it's mostly peaceful, while that's on fire in the background, and you're going, yeah, that's not mostly peaceful, but whatever. So Vibe, welcome to the forum.
All right, mine's gonna be short, sweet. Will justice be served? That's all I gotta say. Thank you.
Well, we can hope. We definitely can hope that. Patriot, welcome to the Conservative Political Forum. We're always glad to hear from you. You there?
Thank you. My only comment is, in Washington State, it's very liberal, and J. Paul would be protected, unfortunately, and anything that is Republican or conservative, who cares?
Yeah, no, that's true. Judge, you can jump in. I know you got something to say, and then we'll call on Harold.
Well, first of all, I'd like to piggyback off of a couple of the statements that I've heard here, and I'm just going to make an amalgam of them. A thing we have to remember, and a thing that our friends on the left have to remember, is what is good for us now is good for them later. What's good for them now is good for us later. Like they're saying now in the Senate with the filibuster and wanting to change the rules. Once upon a time, they didn't want the rules changed, and they wanted to keep the filibuster. So that's something that we have to that they have to remember, and we have to remember always. The rules are in place, and you don't change the rules just because they don't suit you. Okay, and you have to mind that. And when you don't mind those rules, there's chaos. And when you don't mind those rules, it is fair for the side that is mistreated and that is taken advantage of by you not minding the rules when it's time for you to do so, to call you out for it. It's not fair for them to want to change the rules because you didn't mind them, but it is absolutely fair for them to expect for you to be punished for not following the rules. And so I agree with anyone who is disadvantaged by us or by them not following the rules. And in this instance, I think society needs to take a big step back and needs to look and say, look, I may not agree with those judges, or I may disagree with those judges, but human decency demands of me that I respect their role on the U.S.'s highest of courts, and that I leave them alone and let them and their families live their lives in peace. And I exercise my right to protest at the appropriate time, place, and forum. And that is not when they're trying to safely and peacefully have dinner with their family in a public place. And that is not when they are in their homes, in their beds, trying to sleep. And I shouldn't try to dox these people or interfere with their peaceful enjoyment of life. No one's coming after me and interfering with my peaceful enjoyment of life, no matter whether I perceive it that way or not. Roe versus Wade's being overturned by the Dobbs decision does not interfere with one's peaceful enjoyment of life. Does it create perhaps an inconvenience for those who are pro-choice, who want to get an abortion? Perhaps it does. In all likelihood, it does. But does it entirely eliminate the option for abortion? No. As a matter of fact, that's why Biden entered into the executive orders that he did to try to stop and try to make that transition as easy as it can be. And so they've put in place as many safety measures as they can until the state legislatures figure out what they can do and what they're going to do, so that everybody can just kind of chill out and figure out what's going to happen. But it is not appropriate for anyone on either side to show disrespect to justices on either side that they disagree with, no matter what kind of ruling comes from the high courts or from any of the courts under them, based on the fact that you don't agree with them. You don't attack them. The courts they're there to do their job. Let them do their job. And you know what? At some point, the tide's going to change. For a long time, the tide has been one way with the court, and now it's another. And we have constantly been told for many, many years, oh, elections have consequences, elections have consequences. And now the shoe's on the other foot, and they're being told elections have consequences, and they don't like the taste of their own medicine. And it's a real sour pill for anyone to swallow when you use the same adages on them or the same rules on them that they've been using on you. But that's how it is. And so folks always have to remember what shoes on your foot now can be on the other foot some other day. And so you always have to be mindful. If this harsh or draconian rule that you use to your advantage today to get what you want, that you're imposing your will this way, if it's not fair, or if the other side is calling foul today, they may have good reason for it. And tomorrow or years down the line from now, if they use those same rules to benefit them to your detriment or to your perceived disadvantage, they have that right too, because those are the rules. You don't have the right to come back and change the rules, even if it's politics. So we have to always be mindful of those things.
Definitely. I agree with you, Judge. Thank you. We're going to go through the hands real quick. We're getting close to the overtime hour, which I hope you all can stick around. It's going to be fun. Judge Jay is awesome. I love hearing him speak. But Harold, thank you for your patience, my friend, and welcome to the Conservative Political Forum.
Thank you. Well, isn't you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you are not aware of a caliber of disaster indicated by the presence of a pool table in your community? Well, you got trouble, my friends. I say trouble right here in River City. Why, sure, I'm a Billy Plate. Mighty proud to say it. I'm always mighty proud to say it. I consider that the hours I spend with a
Judge, we know who that is, don't we?
Help me cultivate horse sets with a cool head and a keen eye. You ever taken try to live an ironclad leave to yourself from a 3-rail billiard shot? Well, just as I say it takes judgment, brains, and maturity to score in a hog line game, I say that any boob can take and shove a ball in a pocket. And I call that sloth. The first big step on the road to the depths of day. Medicinal wine from a teaspoon, then beer
We know
from
who
bottles.
Harold
And
is.
you know your son is playing for money.
Don't interrupt him.
And listen, something out of town Jasper here to tell about horse race gambling. Not a wholesome trotting race, no, but a race where they set down right on the horse. You want to hear some jacked up jockey boy sitting on Dan Pats? Make your blood boil? Well, I should say. Now, friends, let me tell you what I mean. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pockets in a table. Pockets that mark the difference between a gentleman and a bum with a capital B, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. I could go on and do the rest of the song, but in honor of seeing Hugh Jackman tonight perform that live on stage, I figured
Harold's a bot.
What'd you say?
Oh,
Wait, what is
okay,
that
Nick.
from? Nick, what's that from?
For real?
Yeah, that's from Music Man, and I'm in New York.
You changed up. I'm so jealous, Nikki.
Yeah, Nikki, you threw me off, buddy. That's funny, bro.
Excuse me, the artist formerly known as Nikki, Harold.
Oh, okay.
I won't pseudo dox you any further.
I just surprised. I was worried you were going to say, "Oh, and now Harold Hill." Oh, I mean Nikki, and then it would have ruined the whole thing. So
we let you go on with it. You were making me laugh.
Get it. But I actually agree with you guys. So Antonin Scalia, the Supreme Court Justice, actually gave the eulogy at my grandfather's funeral, and they were not necessarily friends, but like reasonably well acquainted with each other. They both respected each other a lot, and I think that while elected senators are fair game to protest and that sort of thing, and I do think that it's perfectly fine. Any government official, if you really anywhere, if you want to hold a protest outside a restaurant because, a Supreme Court justice is inside having lunch, that's one thing. I don't think we should be harassing justices and judges generally. I don't think it's healthy for democracy if we're like actively hassling judges. I feel a little bit more comfortable actively hassling politicians, like elected officials, because that's kind of what you signed up for. But I know that, at least, the person I respect most in life, my grandpa, may rest in peace, would have been absolutely mortified at the way that we're treating Supreme Court justices.
Well, thank you, Harold. Appreciate your comments, my friend. All right. Patriot, go ahead.
Hi there. As far as Seattle is concerned, they have no concern over Democrats, Republicans. If you're not on their agenda, they're going to give you the wrath of hell, period.
Yeah, I mean it's the rules, and I think just the rules in different cities and stuff. I mean, I think if I can say, Patriot, I think that just in certain areas it seems like we don't get the same luxury. I mean, we've got some socialists.
This is
What?
true.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can't assume that you're going to get the same courtesies, period. So Seattle is a different egg.
That's true. Thank you for your comments, Patriot. Becky and then Colin. Welcome, Becky, to the Conservative Political Forum. She might be working right now. We'll come back to you, Becky, unless you hear us. Colin, go ahead, my friend.
Really, Nikki? Why'd you change your name just to do that? Like, come on.
It was a good bit.
It was good. It was good.
It was good, but it was unnecessary.
You're a Zoomer. You guys do unnecessary things all the time for the sake of, situational humor. So don't get up in me about that, young man.
I may be part of the generation that does that, per se, but I may not do that.
Zoomers is a thing? That's a generation?
Yeah, it's Gen Z. Zoomers.
Oh, my
Zoomers, huh? Okay.
Zoomers, not boomers, huh?
Pretty much.
Yes, that's the whole point.
Oh my gosh.
So Becky's hand still raised. If she comes back, Judge, maybe in your hour, we can we'll let her speak. Neo's got his hand up, and then we're going to move into the overtime hour, and we'll let Katz go over the guidelines. I'm going to read a couple stories that, Judge, you can use, or you don't have to. I want you to go the way you want to go in this hour. Okay, my friend?
Okay, I'm thinking about having a drag queen story hour, but I'll try to go with your guideline.
Okay, Neo, go ahead, my friend.
I mean, hey, Nikki, I got to be honest with you, brother. I kind of like you. I'm not gonna lie. I think Jason's kind of taking that stance with me. I mean, your energy's high. It's kind of, but I mean, it's just, man, it's just not tasteful. It's just like, come on, man. I would love to debate with you. I think I can talk fast enough, just like you. I'm not on whatever you're on. I mean, Nikki, come on, man. We already got the t-shirts made. The t-shirts are made. Like Mar and I talk about it, and I'm just saying, bro, man, you got to calm it down. You talk too much.
Okay, Nikki. Neo, not Nikki. Neo, chill out, bro. I thought it was hilarious. I don't
good.
think.
No, I'm with you. I think Nikki is cool.
Yeah. Nikki's just high on life, bro. Okay, that's what it is. He's high on life. So,
That's cool.
Well, so just to clarify for people,
Hey, I'm gonna probably chill out, but I'm gonna get the hell out of here. But I love you, Jason. Love you, Kat. Love you, Judge. But I was just like, damn, man.
Just to clarify for Neo and you guys, I was reciting a song from the show. Like I wasn't just talking there. I was singing. Talking, singing. So that wasn't me just like coming up with words. That's a song from the Music Man.
Which definitely. I knew I knew it. Neil, you're funny. All right. Cats.
So that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna just start coming on here and sing. I have a shitty voice, by the way, but I'm just gonna start coming on here singing NWA or doing something, whatever. Sure.
Well, I'm Slim Shady. Yes, I'm the real Shady. I can actually do a decent.
Yeah. All right. Cats guidelines, and then I'll go over these couple things, and then we'll jump right into whatever the judge wants to talk about.
All righty. Hey, welcome, new people. Here are our guidelines. As freedom thinkers in the conservative political forum, we believe in and value our constitutional rights. We recognize that even among ourselves, we're going to have varied opinions. This forum is a safe place for everybody. We absolutely do not tolerate personal attacks, and we don't do raised voices. We also ask that you are considerate, please, of persons who prefer not to hear profanity. Please be self-aware of your mic time. We want to make sure that everyone who wants to contribute to a particular topic is able to. Take it away, Jason.
Thank you. So, Judge, we got a couple. Well, Becky's hand's still up. I hope she comes back. But Cap has their hand up. Maybe they'll answer one of your topics. But you can kind of keep an eye on while I'm reading these who's got their hand up, because you'll be able to take over and call on them. Okay. So here we go. Quick overtime stories. I just wanted to go through these real quick because this has to do with the crime that we're talking about, almost like the judges. But Starbucks is closing 16 stores in Democrat cities over safety concerns. The company announced that the 16 U.S. stores will be closing on July 31st, including 5 in Seattle, my area, 1 in Everett, which is still in my area, 6 in Los Angeles, which is Herk's area, 2 in Portland, Oregon, and some other locations in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. Employees at the stores that are closing will be able to be reassigned to other stores. That is due to crime, just so that we can you guys know why that's going on. The crime is so bad there, they have to close these stores down in these cities because there's no protection. They're getting robbed. They're getting, robbed. They're getting, their windows broken all the time and getting stolen when they're closed at night. And so it's just not safe. So that's one of the stories. The other one, Judge, is kind of interesting. And maybe Nikki, I'd like to hear Nikki's take on this. NBA star LeBron James questioned if WNBA star Brittany Griner should return to the United States, whether she's released from her incarceration in Russia. The Los Angeles Lakers star made the comment about the Phoenix Mercury star in a trailer for his show, The Shop, which is scheduled to air on Friday. This is what he said that bothers me, guys, and maybe we can talk about this more, Judge, with you. Now, here's what LeBron James said. Now, how can she feel like America has her back, James said. I would feel like I don't even want to come back to America. That was LeBron's comment. So, Judge, you can take it away and go however you want to go with these stories. Thank you for that.
Well, first, my commentary on the Starbucks situation, I almost find it laughable considering how the owners of Starbucks and the leaders of the Starbucks Corporation have contributed so greatly to some of the chaos in their streets in Seattle and Portland, and to the many of the organizations that have caused that kind of thing. Now, all of a sudden, they're having to close these 16 stores, and many of those stores fall in these major cities. So the people that drink their coffee that are also causing the chaos are now not going to be able to get the very coffee they drink, and they're going to have to go settle for some other coffee somewhere else. But I guess it's kind of poetic justice. At any rate, I just think that's kind of sad and silly. You would think that after so long of so much of this hysteria and craziness, Starbucks would kind of, as a company, get the point and start seeing that it's not all of their politics that made them great and made them the big corporation that they are, and the monolithic, when you think coffee, you think Starbucks, kind of giant that they are. You don't really think of any of their major competitors. I mean, they're big name competitors, whoever they may be. When you think coffee, the first name you think of is Starbucks. It ain't any of even their second, third, fourth, fifth. When you talk about the top five, most people in America have a different number 2, 3, 4, and 5 in that top 5, depending on the region you're in, because no one is as prolific as Starbucks is throughout the nation. And it's capitalism, and it's the free market, and it's decency, and a business model that is second to no other, and a coffee quality, and all of those things that has made Starbucks what it is. But they've become woke, and now they're starting to receive the ramifications of that in their closing shops now due to safety concerns. On the LeBron James issue with Brittany Griner, LeBron James is just trying to find a way to keep out in the media and stay relevant by having something to say about every topic under the sun. Brittany Griner has begged and begged and begged for the Biden administration to get involved. The Biden administration has been pushed by every media news outlet, including conservative media news outlets, by plenty of advocates all across the spectrum. Please help Miss Griner get back home. Her family has been begging, and they claim they've done everything they can. They're doing everything they can. I don't see where he can find fault with what's going on here. As a matter of fact, he supported Biden getting into office. So now for him to pipe up and have anything to say, I think is kind of laughable from a country that has given him personally so very much. I really just don't have it in me to criticize somebody for exercising their right to free speech. But when you have the large platform that someone like he or any other famous person has, you have to add an extra layer of care when you express it, because when you speak hatefully about your country, especially when you talk from the platform that someone like Mr. James has, you have to understand that there are literally millions of people, not just in your country, but across the globe, if not billions, who are fans of yours, who take to heart what you say, and just the utter lack of appreciation for every blessing and every good thing being in this country has brought him. And he has absolutely lived what we have all been taught all our lives is the American dream. If anybody has, I just think it is truly socially irresponsible of him to talk that kind of way. And it is ignorant of everything. And it's willfully blind and ignorant of every blessing he's ever had as an American, to speak that callously about being an American. It has absolutely nothing to do with Miss Griner, I think, and everything to do with him trying to continue his time in the spotlight and continue being relevant by having something to say about any issue that pops up that he thinks he can, tack his name to. I see 2 hands are up. I'm going to go to Politico because Becky's had her hand up for a while and hasn't responded to us. But if Becky happens to want to respond after Politico, I'll come to her.
I'm here. I'll come right back.
Okay. CA Politico?
If Becky, if you want to speak, you can speak first.
She said she'll be back.
Oh, okay.
Here,
my opinion.
I was listening to all the comments before the new subject was brought up, and I literally agree with all ya. Although the one rant I didn't quite understand, I was trying to follow along with that. I didn't even know what I was hearing. Yes, it made me laugh as well. But you know, with the comments that were just made about LeBron James, I really have no love for the guy. I hate him either. I just don't have any love for the guy. And you're right. I mean, everyone has a right to free speech, but it can't be hateful speech. There's a huge difference between those two things. And so that's really my 2 cents on that. But with regards to the stuff with the January 6 hearings and what happened with all the looting and rioting with, you know, that surrounded around the BLM and the Antifa and whatnot, why is that not being more publicized? And this is, and all the hearsay crap, I mean, because I have local TV, I don't have cable, so my TV shows get interrupted from this stupid crap I'm seeing, you know, with the hearings. And everything that's being displayed is hearsay or out of context, and it's a big thing of baloney. Anyway, I'm gonna head out of here. I'm actually here at the store. I gotta buy me some Bud Light seltzers to go home with. So I hope you all have an amazing night. Thank you for giving me listening pleasure while I was doing my closing stuff at the restaurant, as always. And we will catch you on the flip side, okay?
Well, thanks for being here, Becky. We appreciate
I
you.
will be here anytime I'm able to be here, I promise. And Jason knows that. So anyhow, you guys have a great night.
Yes. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night, and we're
Thank
always glad
you.
you're here.
Bye-bye.
All right, CA Politico, you're up next. Did I detect the voice of?
Yes, me too, Judge. I know where you're going with this. Are you right, Judge? Do you think it is him?
Have you changed names, CA Politico? And I won't dox you if you have.
I'm trying to pull a Nikki, but y'all caught me too soon.
Yes.
Well, now let me finish my bit. No, now I'm just too embarrassed to finish my bit. Damn it, Judge, you couldn't.
Give me the bit.
Like
Give me the bit. Give me the bit.
I was gonna sing "You'll Be Back" from Hamilton, but I was trying to keep it on the theme of musicals. But I wanted to go with like a stereotypical newer musical.
Well, instead of talking about it, be about it. Sing it for us.
You say the price of my love's not a price that you're willing to pay. You cry in your tea that you hurl in the sea when you see me go by. Why so sad? Remember we made an arrangement when you went away. Now you're making me mad. Remember, despite our estrangement, I'm your man. You'll be back. Soon you'll see. You'll remember you belong to me. You'll be back. Time will tell. You'll remember that I served you well. Oceans rise. Empires fall. I can't hit that high note. Shit. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will send a armed battalion to remind you of my love. Da 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 yeah da 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 yeah da 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 da.
I'm gonna pull the hook now. Okay, on that one, CA Politico. You know, there were times within that you almost reminded me of the old school version of Dorothy and the Wizard of the Oz, the character of the Cowardly Lion, when he sang the musical bit there. Your voice is starting to change a little bit, and you're starting to have that voice when you sing.
You mean he's starting to go through puberty?
His boys are dropping.
Okay, so Judge, does Colin have anything to say about LeBron James? That would be a good one, Judge.
Okay, I do have something to
Tell us
say
about
about this. I saw this story the other day. In my opinion, if you're going to be going around saying free speech, and then as soon as it comes to some public figure you may not agree with, you have no right to attack them for using their free speech.
Okay, say that again, Colin. I mean, CA Politico. I did it again.
No, I'm going to switch over to my other account. This is a account I've had for like a couple months. I haven't used yet. And I found Harold as a good reason to use it. But yeah, basically, LeBron James honestly kind of said something that a lot of people may have been thinking already, and he's just putting it out there. And I don't think you can attack him because he's using his free speech on an issue that's very important to him, because he's technically a colleague of Brittany Griner. He owns stock in the WNBA. I believe he's a partial owner of the league.
Well, then that wouldn't make him a colleague. That would make him a boss.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and, yeah. Same. What we're trying to get here is he could end up being financially affected by this, and this is him. If Elon Musk said something about this, people wouldn't say anything. But if he does, he's already a controversial figure. So
he pipes up and says stupid stuff that he shouldn't say. Like, this is the most half-witted thing I've ever heard. I could understand if Miss Griner had something to say, but she and her family have reached out to the Biden administration. The Biden administration have reached back and are doing what they can do, so they say. I take them, for all of our differences in politics, I take them at their word when they say they are doing and they are exhausting every effort they can diplomatically to get her back here safely home. And so I honestly do believe they are trying, because this is such a high profile case and it is daily in the media, and it's not going away anytime soon. They're not going to have any let up on it. I firmly believe them when they say we're doing all we can to get Miss Griner back home. So all he's doing is making the situation worse by coming out against someone that everyone in America and all over the globe knows he supported, and talking trash about his country and saying, I wouldn't want to even come back here after all this. You know what? She was found guilty of doing something that in her own home country in most states is a crime, or charged of doing that over there. And we're still doing everything we can to get her back here. And yeah, I find myself in an untenable position of defending Joe Biden and his administration for doing all they can to bring her back here, against LeBron James for piping up and saying one of the most ignorant things the man could possibly say, and the worst possible time for America to be having to defend itself on a national stage, on an international stage, against some lunatic like, the Russian government, with Putin in charge. Are we together or are we not on this kind of a thing? We need to have a united front and not be tearing each other apart, and certainly not be tearing down our country over something like this, when it's clear the administration is at least doing all they can to get her back over here. I think Mr. James is being petty and he's being divisive. That's my take. I mean, I respect your opinion. I'm not trying to say he's not voicing what many people might feel, but that is a concern that maybe they should wait to express after the administration has completed its efforts and gotten Ms. Griner back on U.S. soil safely, because they could endanger getting her back here safely by adding to the heat with that kind of talk and rhetoric now while she's still in Russian custody. That's my 2 cents, and that's my thoughts. All right,
Judge, Judge, you shock me. You're defending the Biden administration.
Yeah, I think in this case it's meritorious. I I honestly do believe they're doing what they can do, and it's not what they're doing right now is not a political thing. It's not a Republican Democrat thing. It's what any administration should be expected to do when one of our own is in a foreign land and potentially unjustly, and we need to get them back here. But we have so many people all over the world in foreign lands that have been imprisoned unjustly that we need to be getting back here. She's just a very high profile, famous person who's there. And so, if nothing else, her case is highlighting the fact that we have people unjustly imprisoned all over the world, in Russia and everywhere. But her case is highlighting the fact that we've got lots of people that this administration and administrations before and administrations after are going to have to fight to get back over here. The sad part about it when we have these kinds of folks is our government is always letting go of war criminals and terrorists and other people in exchange for missionaries or celebrities or reasonably decent people or civilians to get them back here, and we're having to let go of absolute lowest of the low thugs and terrorists and criminals that should never walk out of a jail cell in the United States in order to get those good people back here to our country safely and sound. That's what bothers me. I don't know the order of hands because I was on.
Jeannie's next.
Jeannie, go ahead.
If the woman, and it sounds like she probably did, because elitists think that they're beyond laws, if she really did something illegal in a country, I think she should stay there. Maybe the sentence a little too much, but you break the law, what do they say? You do the crime, you do the time, and it's a hard lesson. But other people that go to Russia will probably think twice about bringing their drug paraphernalia into Russia. I just find that why should we even help them? Judge, you need to explain that to me. If she really did the crime, why shouldn't she do the time? I mean, do you take into account if a person is a foreigner when you've made a decision? Highly unlikely.
No, honestly, I do not. I treat them just when they're in my courtroom. Now, I don't deal with criminals, quite frankly. I'm dealing with a host of other types of issues. But when someone's in my courtroom and I'm trying to apply the law to them, the last thing I look to is whether or not that person is there as a U.S. citizen. If they would have rights to an adjudication in my court, regardless of citizenship, then their citizenship or lack thereof matters not to me. I'm going to apply the law to them equally under our U.S. and my state's constitution, and that's what I'm supposed to do. Now, I don't know how they do it in Russia. I don't know how they do it in other countries, but I would wager it ain't like we do it over here in the U.S. And I'll go a step further. I think that is I know that is the single most reason for concern here. It's because she is a U.S. citizen and accustomed to U.S. style justice. And we have heard and seen and witnessed so many horror stories about how it's done in Russia and other countries that are essentially run by dictators, where the law says one thing, but the law really is whatever they dictate it to be at the time. And justice really is whatever the person leading that country says at the time. And we wouldn't subject a U.S. citizen who's used to our justice system being treated to something less than true justice in that foreign land. And so, while yes, she is charged with having broken a crime in Russia, Russia is not operating like a true democracy under Vladimir Putin. And we are scared to death that this U.S. citizen might go to a Russian equivalent of a modern day gulag over there or worse. And heaven knows what she's going to be treated like or what she's going to go through. We're not expecting her to go through anything like the justice system she could expect here in the United States of America. And that is the fear. It's not that she should not face justice for having broken the law. She going there to play on behalf of a U.S. team in a foreign land is an ambassador of sorts for her native country. And she should have thought about that before she carried anything. Allegedly, it's alleged that she took such things and potentially broke their law. She should have, all of them should have on that team and their management, captains and whatnot, should have known what the law was there about these type things and what they could and could not do before entering onto foreign soil, and known what the laws were that would apply to them and what they were allowed to do and not allowed to do, so that they could not wind up in this type of a situation. So in truth, yes, the onus is on her, and in truth, yes, she should face justice, but Russian style justice, I would wager to you, is different than US style justice. And the fear of this entire country is that we could wind up with a dead WNBA star over there because Russia is being incredibly hostile to the United States right now. It's not that we're going to wind up with someone that is beloved here. We don't want to make a martyr out of her. We want her to come home safe. Who was first between Patriot, Nellie Mac, and CA Politico?
Patriot. She's had her hand up for a while.
Okay.
Hi there. I feel the same way as Jeannie in Washington. She's a grown woman. She's an adult. She went over there. She pled guilty, and that's all there is to it. Period. Otherwise, she should come home to something like the J6 and wind up a year or so in the gulag in Washington, D.C. Good luck with that.
All right. CA Politico.
Patriot and Jeannie, I am almost appalled. You don't even know. I wouldn't be surprised if you guys don't actually know what she was arrested for. Because y'all are making, honestly, some assumptions here. And Jeannie, you said drug paraphernalia.
Correct, because
vapes wouldn't be considered a drug. And they weren't even vapes; they were vape cartridges, which actually, I believe, it's only illegal to have a vape in the country of Russia. A vape cartridge technically isn't illegal by way of law in Russia. If you read their laws, like I did when this case first started to unfold, so maybe you should do some research before you start saying she doesn't even deserve justice.
Please be kind, Colin. Please be kind, my friend.
I did do research. This is Patriot. And, you go into a different country, you don't screw with their rules, period.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. We're gonna be screwing a lot with Qatar's law in a few months when the World Cup happens, because they've got some laws that our athletes won't agree with, and then they're gonna end up doing it. But Qatar isn't gonna
then they
arrest
shouldn't
any of
be.
them.
They shouldn't be participating unless they expect to stay there for a very long time, period.
And also, if, Judge, this is going back to some of your earlier comments, if the Biden administration was serious about it, they'd let out some lower level Russian prisoners to get her back, maybe 2 or 3 of them, and then just have this whole situation be over. And I'm talking any big ones. I'm talking maybe like the smallest of small.
Perhaps if you believe anything that Biden says, good luck with it.
Patriot, I don't believe in Biden. I believe he's an incompetent president. That's what I believe he should do. Will he do it? No. He'll probably leave her there for 5 years until she gets out of prison. And that's generous. Her prison sentence may be a life sentence because it was so publicized in the U.S. and people are calling for her to come back. It's been so politicized that Russia's just may just try and hold on to her forever. We don't know. It's why that Biden administration needs to make a move now.
Actually, I'm not all that concerned about an NBA star going over there and not following the laws, period. As far as our military has been held, and we still have people over there in Afghanistan.
Well, the bottom line is we have an American. She's done something. I don't care. I'm going to stand with she needs to come back to America. She might be hating on America. I really hope. This is my thoughts, Patriot, and then we'll leave it at that. Hey, I'll let you respond, Patriot. This is my hope because I don't want to see anything bad happen to Americans. I know they disrespect our country. Here's my hope. I actually hope the Biden administration does whatever they can to get her back here and that she has a little bit more thankfulness for this country after being in a prison. Because I'll tell you, when you go through something that breaks you down, you realize how much more you appreciate your freedom. I'm one that can honestly say I've been in that situation where I appreciate my freedom more.
So have I, actually. I have a son that served in the military, and he was a SEAL. And you know what? I lived several years worrying about if he'd be sent home in 2 boxes, one with his body and one with his head, when they were decapitating over there. So, you know what? I don't have much, she shouldn't have done it. She's a grown-up. She's not stupid. She shouldn't have done it. Not wishing her, bad, but it's just the way it is. Thank you.
Definitely. And I will say this, Judge, and then I'll let you back. I just kind of interrupted because I wanted to make sure we got back to a little bit back into alignment here. I really believe that Brittany Griner, her comments about the American flag, that bothered me. But I don't believe that. I think what she got arrested for, to me, is not something that she should have been arrested for, even though it's another country. That's where I believe that. And some people might not agree with me, but what do you think, Judge? I mean, I know we got to follow their rules, but I feel like we have to do what we can to get her back because she's an American, despite how she feels about our country.
I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't think she was truly arrested. I think they used a technicality to arrest her for something they probably could have arrested most of that team for. And they chose to get her because they knew that she was publicly married to a woman. And it is highly disfavored in Russia to be homosexual.
That's true, because she was with her team out there trying to supplement her contract, right? Because she didn't make enough here. So is that correct?
Yes, but they have been publicly prosecuted for homosexual in Russia for the last 5-6 years now. And it is the people there in Russia who do not...
Jeannie, I think your mic is unmuted.
people in Russia who do not fall in line with Putin's vision of what Russia ought to be, and with Putin's school of thought, are silenced by hook or by crook. They saw an opportunity to make an example of somebody, and I truly feel, if you want my true opinion, that this is what they're doing with Brittany Griner. She is being persecuted. She's being made an example of, and they're saying, don't come over here with your Western American ways and flaunt it in our face, because in Russia, we deal with you guys differently than your country will. We'll show you how we deal. And that's what I think is happening to Brittany Griner. And I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's right.
And I'm with you on that. I agree with you on that 100%. You had Jeannie's hand up, and then Colin, however you want to do it, Judge.
Jeannie, go ahead, and then Colin.
It is my belief that she will make it back to the United States, and she will be deemed a hero by the left. And, I find that, for me, kind of offensive. They are going to martyr her and say what a wonderful person she is when she says horrible things about our country. And, obviously she has the right to do so, but it's the double standard. If it was anybody else, if it was a conservative over there, can you imagine what the left would be saying? I can.
Oh, I agree with you. 100% agree that she should not be made a hero or a national heroine over this. She should absolutely come back if she has any shred of human decency and any love for her country. She should come back with a better appreciation for just how good she has it here in America compared to anywhere else in the world she could possibly go. And for the fact that she lives in a country that enables her to pursue her passion and to play a sport on the national level and on an international level like she gets to do, and to be famous for it, no less, and to play at the absolute height of her profession and make money doing something she absolutely loves doing, so that it doesn't even have to feel like work. So, because that's what living in the United States of America that gives us all, is the ability to, if you want to put in the work, if you want to put in the effort, if you want to pursue your dreams, you really can do that. You truly can. If you put your mind and effort into it, you can go as far as your imagination and ability will take you. But at the same time, you can also get spoiled by that, so much so that the ego that comes along with that spoiling can allow you to be very much blind to how good you have it, to the point that you can develop a hubris of mind and heart enough that you'll speak hateful and evil things about your home country. And that should never happen, because in a place as blessed abundantly as this place is, when you have the opportunities that we have here, we should be 100% appreciative of them, and not take every opportunity that we could to tear our country down, because no other place on this globe affords any person of any background or any creed the opportunities that this little slice of heaven in this unique corner of the world affords any human being, if they put their mind and heart to it. That's my 2 cents. All right, Colin, and then Patriot.
Jeannie, I don't know if you actually knew who Brittany Griner was before this situation happened, but she's actually a really great person. She's been in the WNBA since, I believe, 2012. I may be wrong on that. And she has been pioneering fights for liberal ideals since really her college days, because she was one of the advocates for paying college athletes or allowing college athletes to have name, image, and likeness rights. And this idea that Brittany Griner will be named as a hero when she gets back, in my opinion, she won't be when she gets back, because she's already a hero for college athletes and other women in professional and even amateur sports, because she has fought for things that are important to them. And I don't believe it would be right for the progressive movement to hijack the reason why they're a hero for them to try and make it a more broadened term.
That's a good point, Colin. I think that I think that if they try to do that and take the credit that she has earned for what she has done away, they really take away from her personal story and make her something that she's not, when she does have personal accomplishments that are also quite noteworthy. Regardless of what your political background is, she does have a story to tell long before she ever went into Russia. Patriot Nellie Mac.
Thank you. Everyone has a story. It might not be in the limelight, but everyone has a story, and everyone has the right to speak. It's the United States of America. I remember my 5'2" mother telling me I might not believe, I might not agree with what you have to say, but I'll defend to the death. And I think that she meant that. Your right to say it. My dad was a World War II, Navy. And it's kind of like, yeah, she's just like everybody else. I'm sorry. Everybody has a story. It's just not in the limelight. But, I hope things go well with her. I haven't followed women's sports because pretty soon it's going to be dominated by men anyway. Thank you.
You're probably right about that, Nellie. And it's sad that that's going to be the case, and I hate to see the day that might happen if we don't put in some protections in place to keep that from happening. Because there's a reason we have women's sports. It's because women and men are built differently, endowed by their creator with different physical attributes, and so we certainly should protect that, especially on the college and high school levels. It just needs to be that way. But and I see, Colin, you've got your hand raised, but I'm going to continue my thought. Jeannie, too. In this particular instance, I do agree with you in that regard, but I'm not calling for special treatment for Miss Griner. I just personally feel that she has been singled out. She's been alleged to have done this one thing that I'm sure there were several other people on that team probably who could also have been charged if they really wanted to search and charge everybody that was on the team. But she is very publicly known for her marital relationship and status to another woman, and it is highly disfavored in Russia. And people who are in same-sex relationships publicly are persecuted and prosecuted often in Russia. They have been relegated to, as we used to say in the United States, the closet, and into hidden spaces and places. They are hiding, in hiding, and they do not feel safe there. They cannot feel safe there now. And Russia claims to be a democratic country. It is not. It is not at all a democratic nation or a free nation when they are telling people of any walk of life that, okay, because our president doesn't agree with this, you or our prime minister doesn't agree with this, whatever he is at the time, because he keeps switching hats in order to stay in power, that, we're going to persecute you for this type thing. So I feel that there were probably several people they could have gone after to prosecute for that they just overlooked and chose not to. The real reason she's being prosecuted is because she was very public and open about her marital status to her wife in the United States. And they saw an opportunity to make an example of her because they don't want little Russian girls and little Russian boys over there thinking that they're going to make any kind of a hero out of Brittany Griner for being in Russia playing basketball. That's just my thoughts. And you are free to disagree with me, obviously, and you may disagree with me, but I think there's a very plausible case there, and it's not a very hard inference to make that that's exactly what's going on there. Jeannie and then Colin.
This is to Colin because he mentioned me by name. Seattle is very well known for Seattle Storm, which is also a women's basketball team. And anytime other teams come to Seattle, they usually in the local news do an expose about people on the teams because the Seattle Storm is really supported here. So yes, I did know who she was because, they make sure that women are highlighted, in our locality. So yes, I knew who she was. I know she's, women's basketball. I can't always tell, what team they played for, when they played, or, what their high scores were, but I knew who she was. So let's just take away from that. And also, Colin says, she didn't have anything illegal. Well, still in places in the United States, not Washington, but other states, hash oil or, cannabis oil is still illegal. And to say that, she had nothing, she did have something, whether that's a reason to put someone in prison for 10 years, I don't know. I'm neutral on cannabis laws, so there's that.
Jeannie, I feel like this would be a different situation if it was cannabis, but it actually wasn't cannabis. It was vape cartridges, which do not contain any cannabis. They do contain nicotine, but they do have zero amounts of cannabis.
Hers had cannabis, and for you to deny that these basketball players don't smoke weed in other ways other than a joint or any other way that you can smoke weed is ridiculous, in my opinion.
All right, next, Cats.
Thanks, Judge. What I think of this girl, Brittany, whatever the heck her name is as follows. Many, many times over the course of the last week or however long she's been in the news, many, many times I've lost count. Her story came across my Twitter feed. I read the headline, and not once did I ever click and read the comments. Not once did I ever click and read the news story. I don't wish anything bad for her, but I simply don't find it that important with other things that are happening. I think a lot more about those poor people rotting away in those DC jail cells, not justified at all. Horrible treatment. I think more about the people, Americans left behind in Afghanistan, are they dead? Horrible treatment. Who knows what the heck has happened to them? And I think more about our Supreme Court justices who are doing their jobs to the best of their abilities, some of them with young children. being harassed and probably having a hard time sleeping every night because of these people who are threatening them. I mean, and there's just so many other things going on. I just really think very little about her.
I completely agree with those sentiments, Kat. I think you hit the nail right on the head. And the only reason we've gone down this vein is Jason gave us some topics, and I went with it. For lack of a topic of my own, I did find the Supreme Court justices topic very interesting, but we'd already hammered that one out previously, I think, and I don't want to rehash that one again. I honestly don't think it's worth going through Starbucks any further than we've already done, because I think most people are pretty cut and dry on Starbucks. It is about time for Jason to call us to a wrap up. So I'm going to call on Colin one last time and let him say his piece, and then I'm going to hand it back over to Jason to bring us to a close. So, Colin.
Well, I believe we don't close for another 10 minutes, Judge. So I'm going to bring up a new subject to finish us out.
I realize that, Colin, but I want to be respectful to the actual hosts of the space and give them plenty of time to wrap up.
You can give him he can bring up a topic real quick, Judge, if you still want to kind of direct. We're good. We can go a little bit if we need to, but it depends on where we're at. But go ahead.
Jason, do you want to go to bed, or are you okay with me bringing up this topic?
Well, you can bring up this topic. I'm going to close the forum just at in the next 10 or 15 minutes, just to keep with the theme. But go ahead.
Okay. So as many of you may have heard, a few days ago, I believe it was on last Thursday, a major political leader in the world resigned his position as leader of his country, and that was Boris Johnson. And this has left a gap in the world political scene in a country that is known as our biggest ally. And whoever is elected the next conservative leader will become the next prime minister of the United Kingdom for at most 3 years, which could lead to which could be major to any relations between us and them, or any other worldwide conflict. And this has left some people questioning whether or not the Conservative Party has anybody even competent enough running to become the next PM.
Well, I will say this. You do know Boris Johnson is considered like a rhino in Europe. People didn't, they felt that he took them more left than he did to the center. So I think there are some people, Judge, if you can help me, if you have any advice on this, I do believe that he was looked at more as a guy that was not following his promises and doing what he said he would do, correct?
I think Johnson came in on the Brexit wave. He promised to bring Brexit, and he got the Brexit vote and then could not implement it as fast as was the people's liking for it to be done. There were certain things, of course, that based off of the EU's charter and the way EU's and Britain's arrangement as part of the EU were required formally in order for them to part company and be a different entity or a separate entity, sovereign from the EU again. I just don't understand, honestly, why that took so long, because for the Queen to be a sovereign herself, her country cannot really be a member nation of a body like the EU in the first place. So it was really strange to me that she as a sovereign would allow, even though they claim she's at best a figurehead. She has to ask the elected prime minister to form a government in her name. And if she doesn't, then theoretically, under their constitution, the power still rests in her and in nowhere else. So uh, I would say this: if you're a sovereign, you're a sovereign. If you're a figurehead, you're a figurehead. And then you don't even have a right to live in Buckingham Palace. So, um, for what it's worth, I don't think that there it should have taken as long as it did, but formally, for whatever reason, there were all types of formalities and roadblocks that were in place that kept Mr. Johnson from being able, Prime Minister Johnson, from being able to do his job effectively enough, quickly enough to part company with the EU and to make the Brexit happen as fast as the people hoped for. And the people grew impatient and they wanted him out. So he's out. Um, I don't think that made him incompetent. I think he did the best he could with what he had there. But I think in reality, he, he just kind of fizzled out because it just took too long to accomplish what he had promised the British people that he would do. And so when you make a promise, you have to have a plan in place that you can actually do. And if you can't do that plan, you're going to be seen as incompetent. And that happens to any leader that makes a promise, and then whatever comes in their way that keeps them from being able to keep it, whether it's their own ineptitude, whether that's the case or not here, I don't know, or whether it's circumstances beyond their control that prevent them, regardless of how adept they are at doing the job, that might keep them or prevent them from being able to do it. Nobody is a tour de force like Donald Trump. Not every leader is. So, Donald Trump did an awful lot in just 2 years. The first 2 years of his presidency, many people thought Donald Trump did more than most presidents do in a full in 2 terms. So 8 years. So, and it was argued widely that was the case. So imagine what he could have done if he had gotten 8 full years. So but then again, a lot of people said in his first 2 years he was dynamite, and then in his second 2 years he got nothing done. It was like he was already a lame duck. So, you compare him to Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson's just not a Donald Trump, though he posed himself and packaged himself as the British Donald Trump. And, now they're getting rid of him. So hopefully they can find somebody that can form a government in the Queen's name that she'll be able to ask to be her prime minister, and they'll be able to get whatever they promised done. But that's politics for you. Sometimes you can make promises and you're not able to keep them.
That's a really good way of putting it, Judge.
Definitely. Thank you, Judge. I just want to thank you all for being here. First of all, Judge, it's an honor to have you be a co-host, and I look forward to the next time. I love everybody being here, every one of you. It's just I'm always overwhelmed and overjoyed that we have a place to share our views and stuff, and that you guys like listening to what I have to say, and how Kat and I and our other co-hosts run the forum. So it's really, really great, and I will continue to hopefully make this better for you guys. I want to see more and more people come in so they can hear the truth and kind of know what's going on. And so, but before we do that, I'd like to close in prayer. But before we close in prayer, please look for, and I've posted it in the nest, Night Court. So if you click on the page I have for Judge, that was last Friday's Night Court. I love going to Night Court. The Judge and I pretty much run a similar style for space. We both keep good control over our space and keep it so you can always feel safe there. So please be looking for the Judge's Night Court. And enjoy going to that if you can. I do, and I know Kat does. I see Jeannie in there. I see Patriot in there. It's a lot of fun. It's really good, and we have fun. Sometimes the judge could be a little crazy, but it's still fun. But anyways, other than that, please look out for the Conservative Political Forum on Twitter and Rumble if you want to hear this again, or through Twitter as well. And we're just going to keep growing it. And I'm really honored that you guys show up. I really mean that when I say that. I'm just as awesome that I can, that we can just connect. So let me close in prayer. Kat, do you have any final thoughts?
Oh, I just want to thank everyone for being here with us and sharing your thoughts. And Judge, wonderful job. Not that we would think anything less of you or expect anything less of you. Not a surprise. Appreciate you are a very busy person, but yet you gave your time to be with us and share your vast knowledge of worldly things. Yeah, so thanks everyone. Appreciate you and hope to see you back here next week and at the other spaces.
And go ahead, Judge.
Appreciate y'all, and I want you to know that I love and appreciate each of you, and always look forward to joining this space when I can, and to having you guys join me in my spaces when you can. And it's always a blessing, and I just truly cherish each and every one of your friendship. It means a lot to have you in my life and to be a part of yours as well.
And we love it, Judge. We're so glad we've connected. And I believe in this fall, I really believe we are going to make a difference on spaces for people right now it's the summertime, so it's not as people are gone and stuff, but in the fall when they're just home and the weather's bad, they'll be listening to what we have to say, and I just believe it'll be good. And so let me close in prayer, and but before I do, next week special guest co-host is Herk Singh. He was here tonight listening. He didn't talk much. He's talked early, but not later. So he'll be here next week. And then in 2 weeks from now, we have GayCon going to be a co-host. So we got that coming on. And then August 2nd, we are doing a forum on August 2nd for the primaries in Washington and some other states. The Best Peoples is going to be our decision desk guy, and we'll be talking and kind of be probably talking a lot in there. August 3rd, we'll still have our Conservative Political Forum. And so we're just going to keep going, and we're going to keep growing, and you all are always invited and just hanging out with us. So, Father God, I just thank you for everyone here tonight. Thank you, Lord, that they sleep well. I just pray that whatever city they're in, that they are protected, that your hedge of protection is around their life, regardless of the political climate in their city. I thank you, Lord, that you watch over everyone in their health, because your word says that by your stripes we were healed. So we just claim healing over everybody. And if they're dealing with anything, that they are healed, healthy, and whole in the mighty name of Jesus. I thank you for strong minds, strong heads, strong hearts. And I pray you protect everybody in here and their whole family. Protect their whole family, spouses, whoever's in their family, even their cats and their dogs. Just their family, just a hedge of protection around each and every one of them. In your name we pray this, and we thank you, Lord, that we will reconnect next week for some more exciting news. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you, everyone.
Amen. Good night, everybody.
Good night.